Okay, we are live tonight on Sun and Moon, an extra day here. We have with us on our panel today, Jon the Morgile. Hello, Jon.
Hey, how's it going?
Hey, well, I'm going to ask you that in a minute. Anyway, say hello to everybody in the chat room, everybody watching after this when this Hangout is uploaded. Also on the Hangout, we have artists from Germany.
Hello.
Will from Holland.
Hello.
From the UK.
Hello.
Ceres from Holland.
Hi there.
Anyway, back to this now, Jon. We were just talking about this. I said I was really worried about you, considering they keep forecasting all this weather over you, and it's not quite like that for you, is it, at the moment?
No, not at all. It's actually really nice. It's a nice, cool 82 degrees. So that's pretty nice and cool here. And there's hardly any traffic, so that's a bonus. And no, I'm in Central Florida, so there were mandatory evacuations in this county, but only for like manufactured homes, mobile homes, and low-lying areas. And so that's not going to affect me where I'm at, but there's a lot of people in South Florida that had to get evacuated up because there's going to be a pretty nasty storm surge with this thing, and you know, could be some flooding and stuff, but no, I'm good, and I think everything will be fine here. You know, Florida gets lots of hurricanes, and it's pretty decent natural defense against hurricanes. We were talking just a minute ago. You know, you've got the barrier islands, you've got a lot of wetlands out here that sponge up all that excess rainwater. So I don't think that Central Florida, at least, is going to have too much catastrophe from this thing. But yeah, you never know.
Yeah, because I mean, the projections of where this is going sort of puts it right over you.
Yeah, it could be. And you know, I've been sort of betting. I wish there was pools on this, hurricane pools. I've been betting that it's going to go off into the Atlantic for a few days now, and it looks like, you know, you had that previous storm that is out in the Atlantic. Just I can't tell if it's adding to Irma or taking away from it, but another thing that we had too was the full moon the other day, and so I think that may have dampened it a little bit, because it's a beautiful storm. You know, it really is. It's a very nicely defined storm, and it was breaking some records and stuff. But you know, that it hit that full moon. What was it? A couple nights ago, we had the full moon, and of course, I saw the big giant full moon in broad daylight that morning. So yeah, good jab against the heliocentric model. But that you know, that moonlight, the full moon cools down the water considerably, as you know, was first time I ever heard it was in Zetetic, but that helps because hurricanes do really well in warm waters. Like 86 degrees is optimal for growth and, you know, sustenance of the super fast winds. So like the night before the full moon, it was sustained at 185 miles an hour, and then the next morning after the full moon, it dropped down to 180. Right, so that helps a little, but yeah, I think all in all, it's going to be okay here. But for the people that live in South Florida, people that live on the coasts, yeah, they're probably going to get some bad news from it, but we'll see.
Have you seen that there was a earthquake in Mexico yesterday, and there's lots of fires happening as well?
I did not know that. So how big of an earthquake in Mexico?
Patricia? Patricia's the one that told me.
I think it was the scale of 8.2.
8.2, huh? That's pretty bad.
Was just outside of the shore.
Wow.
But there's other things happening. You know, there's lots of barium in the air, and there seems to be lots of fires. Patricia, are you there? Patricia, she might be on the phone.
No, I'm here. Sorry, it takes me a while to click on my microphone. Yeah.
Yeah, you explain it then, because you were the one that told me.
What about what? The 8.2
yeah.
earthquake.
Yeah,
Well,
and the barium.
Oh, the barium. I actually looked at the chemical thing and it's actually lithium that's combustible. So I got that wrong, but you don't know what else to put in there which would cause a chemical reaction to, you know, the fires I'm on about, not the earthquakes, but it's just everything seems to be going wrong, doesn't it? You know, I mean, poor America. Do you know what I mean? It's getting it all, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, all the mysteriously sinkholes that create that. That's just, you know, houses are vanishing. I mean, some goes like deep, like 100 feet or more. I mean, wow.
So where is that excess lithium and barium coming from? Is that like what's up with that?
That's the chemtrails, isn't it?
Oh, is that what the theory is?
Well, the barium. I mean, I don't know what's in the chemtrails and that, but this is just my opinion. It's, you know, it's not. It's just that I do like alchemy and things like that. So, in what else? I mean, they're not. I mean, they're not telling us that they're doing it anyway. But it's just weird when you think of all these different chemicals, how they react with each other. You know, like and you just think, well, if they're spraying us all with chemicals, there's got to be some sort of reaction somewhere, and you know, some you can just add water to them or a bit of heat. You know, you've got like that gets a lot of sun, and there's this stuff that's flammable. I mean, I don't know 100%, but it's just something I've thought about recently.
I've seen like footage sort of that before, like when they were talking about a nuclear event that happened like a few hundred years ago or a few thousand years ago. I'm not sure, but there was it was an accident because it was a chemical reaction between two kinds of materials, and it created a nuclear blast big enough to almost destroy like half of existing America. So that was in time before America even existed. So it was an event that blew away like most of yeah, something big what isn't there anymore.
Well, and, you know, it's funny. I was listening to Tesla's autobiography the other night, and you know, one of the side effects of the, I guess, over Unity device or tower, you know, that he made was a pretty massive earthquake out of the blue. And so, you know, when you talk about weather modification and stuff, the U.S. military has been doing that sort of thing since Vietnam and before. And, you know, earthquakes are a definite possibility when you're dealing with, you know, like Tesla technologies and all the vibrational frequencies and crap. But, yeah, heart goes out to the people in Mexico, man. I had no idea. That's crazy.
Because anything over a 7, isn't it, is bad.
Yeah, yeah. 8.2 is pretty high up there.
It's really happening on your continent at the moment.
Yeah.
I would say this though, John. I wonder if Ceres will show it. He found some information yesterday, didn't you, Ceres? Or we were looking at it last night.
Yeah.
Do you want to show it, Ceres?
Covered with this, you can actually go up to 12 kilometers high. And they actually use the UTM square. What they use in Google Maps, the same. But I figured there you have the winds, the temperatures, This is the temperature map. Oh, at 12 kilometers height. Barely a temperature. You have the magnetical map as well. And if you actually see everything together, you can probably see how everything is actually connected with each other. I saw, for example, with no, not just the wind speeds, and then also at 12 kilometers. Maybe that was here. Yeah, here. This is here a center point, and this is here a center point, and these are exactly the positions of the pillars of the flower of life grid. And then you have up here as well 2 points. I'm not sure which ones, but and you have then left-right connections and right-left of, what do you call it? This is the right side of the square, this is the left side of the square, but this is also the right side of the square because you repeat the map.
Looped.
No, you loop it.
Ceres, will you show those bits when you showed the different heights and the different colours and how strong the winds were?
Yeah. Well, I go from now down to 9 kilometers. And then halfway, 5 kilometers, 5.5. And you can see that the extreme winds are very high. The lower you get, the less extreme the winds are.
I just thought it was a bit strange.
Small areas, 1 kilometer high. And then just above ground is barely heavy winds. So the higher you get, the more extreme winds there are. And there are apparently, how do you call that? Complete strokes full of jet streams kind of thing here, very high up.
I just thought it was really strange.
Then,
the higher you went up, the stronger it all got.
And everything is around the tropics. So the most extremes are at the edge of the tropics towards the poles. And then between there you have a, I don't know, a kind of sun and moon controlled part where it's just interfered. Kind of Greenland as a polar rotation. See how it actually turns.
It almost looks like a poster, like a blacklight poster or something.
Yeah.
But it's just really strange that the higher you get, the stronger the winds become. So nearly to ground, there isn't much wind. And then 9, was it up you go, it gets really strong winds. 7 miles up, so crazy.
It does play with my mind to see like animals in the current waves. I mean, it's funny.
But when you thought that it would have been the other way round, that the winds were stronger down here and less up there? I just thought that was strange.
Well, I think when you get up to a certain point in altitude, like it evens out, right? And that's where the jetliners want to fly, is above all that turbulence, noise, whatever.
Yeah.
But 7 miles, that's pretty high.
12 kilometers, how long is that in miles?
Yeah, something like that.
So, Jon, you're writing a book.
You talking to me?
I'm talking to you. You're writing
Yeah.
a book, aren't you?
Yeah, still am. It's, it's on my hard drive here. I work on it here and there, but I've just been, staying pretty busy here lately, and so yeah, it's still definitely in the works. I was wanting to get it done by way before November, but that's not going to happen. It doesn't look like, but hey, I'm not going anywhere.
So, yeah, I think a book you have to keep going back to and adding bits, don't you? I'm sure.
Well, no, I've stopped from doing that. It started out, I had a pretty clear outline, but yeah, I mean, it's like every other week, you run into something new, and it's like, wow, you have to add that. And I sort of cut myself off, yeah, to where I'm not going to add anything else, but it's going to be closer to like 300 pages as opposed to, 100, which is what I was suggested by my friend Zen Garcia. And he probably knows what he's talking about because he's self-published, I don't know, a dozen or so books. One of them was Flat Earth, the Key to Unlocking the Book of Enoch, or something to that effect. And yeah, he suggested that I keep it to under 100 pages, and that was the goal. And now I'm almost at 200 pages with, outlines for the rest of it. And just, yeah, it's a lot of work. I mean, but I can knock out pages pretty quick when I have time to just sit down and focus on it,
Well, that's good. I think my book would be thousands of pages long. We've got to cut it down. It's very hard, isn't it? I should think when you've got to cut.
In a way, I can only live the book. Not, I can't.
Any hints to what your book's about then?
I can't finish the book because I'm actually living it.
Right. Yeah. No, I totally get it. But well, see, that's the thing too. Like, I don't know. I've worked in graphic design for years, and it was very deadline oriented, and I've done pretty major, like entire high school yearbooks by myself, which normally you'd have a couple people working on that sort of thing. Just as an example, we also published for a fraternity, like, gosh, it was like a 300-page book for them. And so I'm used to working in design and writing on deadlines and stuff, but for this, I'd rather, be true to what the work is as opposed to just worrying about deadlines. And when you work for yourself, you can do that kind of stuff, right? So
is that kind of what you do now then with your trade, don't you?
Do what?
Is that what you do now? Like, are you sort of self-employed now then? Like, sort of your own boss, I mean, now with your whatever you do?
Yeah, more or less. I mean, I have been for a number of years, and here lately it's been, all the one thing. And it was sort of nice the way that it worked, because I've talked to people who are in positions where they can't come out and talk at work about flat Earth. And there's a lot of people that are overseas that, run their companies, and they tell all their employees to their dismay, that's all about flat Earth. But I'm kind of lucky that when I did the debate with Dr. Grinley on the Art Bell show back in August of 2015, pretty soon after that, I don't know if it was Providence or if it was something else, but I lost all 4 of my clients within a week of one another, which, that sort of thing, you might lose a client, you might lose 2, but I'd never seen in the 6 or 7 years I'd been running my Elance business. This was while Elance was still in operation, that, you'd never lose all 4 of your clients in a week. And so with that, I didn't have really any reason not to publicly, come out, because up to that point I had remained anonymous, to try to protect my business, because the last thing somebody wants is to have a flat earther, doing their marketing consulting or whatever. And so when it came out, it was sort of liberating, because now I can go and talk about it with you sort of fine people. And I've talked to a lot of people, more than a handful of people, that tell me, they wish that they could come out and talk about this, but they can't, because they're going to, lose pretty much all their credibility. And I just feel lucky that I didn't have a choice in it, because if I would have had a choice, I would have definitely, salvaged my business, but that's not what happened. So
thank you then for coming out and saying it, because there needs to be more people who publicly do this.
yeah,
Unfortunately, it has to be. It's got to be if we want the change. They don't want the change then, do they?
Well, again, it's sort of hard to put yourself in that position, because I personally, there is no choice. I mean, if you're trying to look out for your family, right, and it's like you have a choice to either continue doing well for yourself or come out publicly as a flat earther of all things. I think anybody in their right mind would always choose to keep that sort of thing in the closet, honestly, because, and I think things are a little different now, at least for me personally, 2 years into it, where the climate has changed a little bit. I think that there are more people out there that understand this, accept it, more people with credentials, higher profile people talking about it. And so it is a little different now, but still, if you're running your own business, or if you're in a business where you're sort of high profile and you're looking at this, yeah, most people are going to just keep it to themselves and maybe crack up a conversation when they're drinking or something. I don't know, but I'm just glad that I'm not in that position. Honestly, I don't see myself being able to keep something like that bottled in for very long.
No,
right?
John, you'd have to tell everybody.
What was that?
Because I said no, John, because you'd have to tell everybody.
Yeah, exactly.
You're a talking kind of man, aren't you? That's what I mean. Well, we appreciate you for that.
Well, thank you. Yeah, and I think I said last time I spoke with you guys, it's just, flat Earth is coming out there, so you'll see more and more people come out with it, but we've got a long way to go. But I think, in 2 years, I'm just so happy to see the climate change as it has. And, there's so many millions of people for every one flat earther that's still plugged into the whole matrix system, right? But people are waking up every day, all the time, and plenty more time.
Yeah, because obviously some of us have only been around for a certain bit of time, whereas you've been around a bit longer of us being a flat earther, haven't you? But it is changing. Like Frankie went to a meet today in Cambridgeshire in England. So it wasn't the biggest meet, but that wasn't there last year, and maybe next year it'll be bigger. And I think that's just how we have to go, isn't it? You just get bigger every year. And I mean, to last year, to this year and next year, because, the UK's got its own convention happening, things are picking up, aren't they?
Yeah, definitely. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, Gary's over in Holland this weekend because he wants to obviously have one in Holland as well.
Oh, sweet. Yeah, I've been wanting to go to Amsterdam for like ever since I saw Cheech and Chong still smoking, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
not illegal there, is it?
That would be great. One in Holland or one in Germany. I haven't found any flat earthers in Germany, so they're probably around, but sometimes they're hard to find.
We looked the other day, John. It was really weird. We looked up the GPS thing, and it isn't on like Google Maps. Germany doesn't have Google Maps.
Nope. Only in the very big cities there is Google Maps. But if you go a little bit out of the bigger cities, it's gone. None of Germany's at Google Maps. Very strange. Or maybe they have another system. I haven't found that yet, but they are not.
Maybe there's no satellites over Germany.
Or maybe. You never know. But it was strange. I wanted to show Karen where I lived, but I couldn't on Google because I couldn't go on the Street View or Google Maps in that area. The Street View is not there. I don't know why. Maybe it's because of a regulation they have in Germany that. Well, Germany has.
out of all Europe, Germany is the one place where there is completely no street view other than within the bigger cities and some smaller regions somewhere, but not the whole country. The
No,
rest of Europe is
yeah, the rest of Europe is completely Google Maps. You can see the street view, and Germany isn't. All in the bigger cities and some small points outside of the bigger cities, but basically, I think even Russia has more Google Maps than Germany. So that's strange.
Because they
Russia
have
has-
different rights of privacy, maybe.
I think it because the regulations also for the food industry are very stricter than in the most all other countries here in Germany.
yeah, they know what the poison is.
Yeah,
stops
a lot
in
of
Russia, doesn't it? Like the beginning bit of Russia, where Moscow is Google Maps, but the most of Russia isn't.
no halfway. Well, even some big cities past Moscow in the east of Russia have Google Maps. So that's strange. It is probably because of some regulations, or Germany is also a country that always want to have their own take on things. So maybe Germany has an other kind of mapping than Google Maps, and they don't want Google Maps, but only their own sort of Google Maps, because Germany often they do that kind of thing. Like they also synchronize the movies. They don't do subtitles, but they
Yeah, that's just ridiculous.
Yeah.
When you're tuned into a German TV channel, and there's like an American movie, and they put like German voices under it.
yeah.
It makes me laugh and just wanna
Me too.
zap by.
I think it's ridiculous sometimes because they could easily do subtitles, and then you see an American movie and everybody's talking German. It's so strange.
They even interviewed like one of the biggest guys on the European Council in Brussels, and the guy who was interviewing the guy was asking and the German guy was answering in German, and when the guy was asking if he could answer back in English, he said no, and he was stubborn, and it's all big German.
Can I just say that Tinfoil Hatter in the chat room says hi, Morgile.
Hello. Yeah, hey, Tinfoil Hatter. Yeah, in Florida. Live from sunny Florida. No, it's actually really nice. I mean, that's what I was saying earlier. It stopped. It's not even raining here. It's really nice, really calm, really cool. 80 degrees is cool here for this time of year. There's no traffic, and yeah, I mean, I know that it's probably going to get pretty bad in South Florida. That's pretty much a guarantee. And we'll see what happens here, you know.
Yeah. So,
John, what's your take on this thing is traveling maybe 100 to 200 miles an hour? You know, it's spinning whatever at that speed, and yet it's taking days to actually move over the land or come up. What is all that about? Why isn't it going faster? Why is it taking days?
It was actually pretty fast. It was going, you know, the sustained winds were 185 the other day, right before the full moon, but it was traveling at like 15 mile an hour, which is pretty damn fast for a hurricane. Usually they'll go 5 or 10 or 15 is pretty fast in terms of it traveling. And it's actually better when they're fast like that, because it's just like, you know, ripping the tape off or whatever, right? Ripping the Band-Aid off quick is better than drawing it out. And so when they slow down, that's when they just sit there sometimes and they'll just dump rain forever. It's like almost seems like it'll never end, right? So it's actually better when they're faster like this. So hopefully it'll be quick thing. But you never know. I mean, the thing could go off in the Gulf and hit Louisiana. I mean, there's just no telling.
John, isn't it also like before Irma, we had the hurricane that went to Texas. So Irma is in a way in the same path of the previously hurricane. So the water it's getting in is like already been a bit cooled down. So it will dissolve the hurricane and will slow it down a little bit before it gets magnetized like to the warmer water near Florida.
Right. Yeah. Well, see, that's the thing too. If it goes in the Gulf of Mexico, that's pretty warm and calm water as a rule, and especially during the summer. And so, if it does go out that way, then yeah, it could strengthen back up pretty quick. But it just seems to me like with all the other weather going on out in the Atlantic, I mean, it really seems more likely. This is just my opinion. I mean, don't quote me on this, but it looks like it's going to go out into the Atlantic, just to me. But you never know.
John, your temperature was seasonably low. You said just some minutes.
Yeah, it's been in the high 90s.
Yeah, but did it drop this week and last week? Did the temperature drop? Or
it's funny.
Here the last 14 days, the temperature dropped almost 10 degrees Celsius.
Yeah,
so
it's funny.
Very big drop all of a sudden. The weather was very hot, and in a couple of days, it was seasonably cold. So I was wondering if that was the same over there.
Yeah, it really does. I mean, now that we have been looking at this, for example, I went swimming when the moon was right around the eclipse, so it was a no moon, and the water was really super hot, like really hot. When I got out, it felt cold outside. I went swimming at night, and then more recently, when the moon was pretty much full, I went swimming at night, and the water was super cold. Yeah. And the temperatures hadn't changed much. I mean, we were getting heat indexes of like 115 during the day, and that didn't change too much. But yeah, with the full moon, the water definitely got a lot colder, and so that's why
after the full moon, the whole weather went colder. Also over here.
Well, it shows right now that the water on the east coast of Florida has a temperature of 88 Fahrenheit.
Okay.
Yeah. But, when they hit land, though, they just start to break up pretty quick. It's, again, the worst thing is when they just come to a crawl when they're going like 3 or 5 miles an hour. And then you still get the gusts of wind. You'll have 100-mile-an-hour sustained winds and gusts of like 150. So it's actually kind of fun, to tell you the truth. I mean, but it's not fun when it gets like dangerous. So hopefully it won't get all that bad here.
I hope so for you, indeed.
Yeah, I think it'll be fine, honestly.
Yeah, you have probably a shelter beneath your home.
Nah.
No.
No. No, I'm in a block house, so it's pretty sturdy.
Yeah. Strange enough, I have here in Germany. I don't need it, but I have a shelter under my home.
Oh, nice.
Always. It was already there when I rented the place. So.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, handy. It's handy for food.
Changing subject. Oh, sorry, Kelty, you haven't finished. Carry on.
It's handy for food for food stockage, because it's a very big area beneath my house, and they can stock all kinds of food in it. To keep it cold. Very handy. Okay, Karen.
Well, if a hurricane comes your way, you're all right then, aren't you?
Yeah, I'm fine. And I also have some backup food for about 2 weeks. So I'm in the safe. I have some tin cans and I have some crates of water. in there. So if there was some kind of disaster, I can live there for 2 weeks. Yeah, easily.
No, if you dug here, you'd just be in the water.
No, okay.
Yeah.
There's another question in the chat room. It's a completely different subject. It's from the Faceless Enigma. He says, "How's your finger?"
Oh, it's great. It's great. I was actually playing the guitar yesterday, so yeah, it's great. A little numb, actually. Still a little bit numb. There's a scar there, but yeah, no, it's great. Thanks.
There you go then.
Nurse, take a little
Artist,
longer.
do you have any? Yeah, fingers, very sensitive sort of skin, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Oh man, it hurt like a son of a gun, I'll tell you.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Yeah. Actually, yeah, it makes me feel ill thinking about it.
Oh yeah, you and me both. I've been sitting here with my skin crawling, just thinking, man, that could have been my whole fucking hand. Excuse my language, sorry, but hey.
Yeah.
I'm glad it wasn't.
Yeah.
Yeah, that you and me both.
Yeah, my neighbour next door nearly sliced half his finger off, and he was nearly at the stage of passing out when I took him because he'd been drinking as well, so he couldn't do anything, couldn't drive, so I had to take him to the hospital, and yeah, that took weeks to heal.
Wow. Oh wow, yeah. I mean, I've lost a little feeling in the tip of it, but you know, I put it in MMS, chlorine dioxide, every hour for 8 hours a day, every day for 3 weeks. And my doctor, he told me it would take about a year for it to get to 100%, and that thing was 100% at the end of the 3rd week. So, yeah, MMS.
Artist has got one that he promotes, haven't you, Artist?
What's that?
The bee.
Oh yeah, you have on my channel. I have even a video. First, there's a guide that explains propolis. What are all the great things about it is, and then I show you myself that you can have fluid propolis. You can do that in purified water, or just in your mouth, or in other drinks. You can do it in your coffee. Doesn't matter. And you can drink it, and it's a natural antibiotica. It's extracted from the beehive, just like honey, and it's a natural antibiotic. And my dad had an ailment, and he had sores in his mouth and aching muscles because he had undergone surgery, and after that his health was very bad, and he had very quickly sores in his mouth and aching muscles. And then a friend of us, he talked about propolis and all the benefits of it. And then my dad started taking propolis pills. And after even, I think, 2 weeks, he already felt more energetic. And after a month, he almost felt like he was his old self again. And now, because when he had that aching muscles for a time of period, he could only walk small distances, do small bike rides. And after that, he could do his old type of bike rides, about 20 miles, and he could walk 10 miles easily again, like he did in the past. So his health was improving very rapidly within a month. And now he's 72 at the moment, and he still can do bike rides of 20 miles and walk 10 miles easily. And that's
Sorry? That's good.
Yeah,
that's good.
His health improved a lot with those propolis pills. And I advise them to everybody who has a little bit of health issues and is struggling with that, because it's an organic medicine, and you can take it with other medicine, no problem, and it has great health benefits. And
So what is it?
I can quickly look for it on online, and then I can show you a picture how it actually is pronounced, and how these pills. You have a different kind of brands that sell those pills. Just a second.
Okay, artist, thanks.
Oh, please.
Are those pills the yellow orange looking one?
Yeah, it's a little bit brownish color, but I can look. They're very
It
good
was
for.
on the news today on
okay.
Dutch program. Yeah.
Oh, finally they talk about it after years and years.
Yeah, it was on a Dutch program called Editie NL today.
Okay, and they also talked about.
I've just thought about something before it changes out of my mind that Will was showing us. This is really interesting, John. The sea that disappeared. Will.
Say again?
Well, Will was showing us some stuff that was posted on Facebook. The sea that disappeared.
Yeah, that was in Long Island Beach. The whole sea there was retreating and disappeared.
Huh. Really?
Yep.
Wow. What sea?
At Long Island Beach.
Long Island Beach.
Yeah, and then slowly the sea came back.
Long Island Caribbean?
No.
Well, let me look it up.
Okay. I found that if he's looking it up, I have found the site of this propolis pills and how those capsules bottles look like, and it's called. Can you see that, John?
Yeah, 1 second. I was just looking at. Is it the Loud Ocean disappears from Long Island, Bahamas following?
Yeah.
Don't be an idiot and wander around the new beach. Water is gone. That's crazy. Sorry to interrupt. Let me go back to the hangout.
We can talk about that in a minute. Artist, finish doing your bit.
Did you find it?
Yeah, I found the actually those you have different kinds of brands that sell those pills, propolis pills. And you can basically take one or two a day, but one is efficient enough most of the time. And you have different kind of brands. Of course, you have to do your research about it and watch some videos about propolis, how it works. But it doesn't do any harm. It has all kind of health benefits. You have different kind of brands. They sell them, and most of the time, about 200 capsules are sold for about $20. So that's not very expensive. So if you have $20, you can most of the time buy a bottle of 20 capsules, of 200 capsules. So that's not very expensive. That's why.
Okay, and I looked into it just a little bit, and it makes sense because it looks like it's a bee glue, bee resin mixture from honeybees. It's produced when the bees mix saliva and beeswax with exudate gathered from tree buds, sap flows, blah, 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 blah. So yeah, man, raw honey is another way to go there too.
Yeah, of course. And but this is the purest form of natural antibiotica you can take, and it's it has no side effects whatsoever, and it's great for your health. And I also saw somebody on YouTube who had cancer, and it even reduced the growth of cancer. So
yeah, awesome.
Yeah, so it's a lot of health benefits, and it is not expensive. Like some alternative medicines are expensive. This bottle you see here is about I think even $15. So that's not very expensive.
Yeah, that's really cool. Good stuff. So yeah, I did find that Loud Ocean thing too. So that's pretty interesting. I've been sort of off the grid a little bit, but yeah, so much new stuff, and I'm not putting it in the book either.
Oh.
Yeah.
Never stop, right?
No.
Yeah, because someone in the chat room, Ace McLeod, he said, has the Morgile mentioned any new videos he's working on?
Oh man, I've got like 3 or 4 of them I'm in the middle of. It's just I've been pretty busy here lately with other stuff, and so yeah, they're in the works. I'm going to put out at least 3 or 4 this month. It probably won't be the regular spread, right? Because usually I'll do maybe a video a week and a couple hangouts every week. But yeah, I've got about 3 or 4 of them. I might just do a live stream and just go over everything because, you know, I found when you're sitting there editing videos, you can spend so much time editing, and live streams tend to do so well. But I don't know. I like doing videos and I like having videos out, so I'll probably end up doing something on the Eclipse still. I got some really interesting stuff on the Eclipse that I've got compiled, and I just need to edit it down and work on it. But you know, that sort of stuff takes time, and
yeah,
I've got
videos
plenty of it.
Yeah,
but yeah, I've just been so busy.
videos take hours and hours and hours and hours. You think,
Right.
oh, I've just got an idea. I'm just gonna, and about 8 hours later, you're finishing it. You know, one little bit.
Yeah, talk about days and days later. Well, I mean, if it's a 30-minute video, that's one thing, but if it's 4 hours long, you know.
Oh yeah, then you have to do a lot of editing. Yeah, I also was in the printing industry, so I know a little bit about graphic design also. So I know how difficult it is. And you also were a graphic designer, if I'm correct.
Yeah. I
And
was
if you-
I was a Quark man, but I've since switched to Adobe products years ago.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I also do use a lot of Adobe Photoshop and that sort of things, and design, and that's things.
Do you remember Quark Express?
Yeah, and I remember that. Yeah, also did basically a sort of high school in graphic design and printing and that sort of things. And after that, I was a book printer for about 15 years. So I know a lot of people who are in the graphic industry and are designers. They are very precise. So you are probably just like me. When you want to do a video, you want to be it as good and as graphic as possible. And that because you're so precise, you're trained to be precise in that kind of job.
Yeah.
It takes a lot longer. The average person will probably a lot sooner say, well, this is okay. And we will look again and look again. Oh, this can be a little bit darker. This can be a little bit longer. And therefore, the designing process takes, if you do it for yourself and you have no limited in time, yeah, you want it to be it as perfect as possible in a graphic way.
Yeah, totally. I mean, that you nailed it, man. I've got a lot of diagrams in there and a lot of them still to do, and so you're right, it takes time, and yeah, I'm sort of a perfectionist when it comes to anything that I'm going to work on. You might not notice it in my videos. Video is not my thing. I've done 2D print design for years. That's sort of my thing, right? So I'm with you. I totally agree.
Yeah.
I always enjoy to edit my video. Is just the rendering afterwards that's a pain.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. There goes another 10 hours at least. I've had videos take literally 24 hours to render, and this is a pretty new computer, so yeah.
Yeah, sometimes it takes ridiculously long to render a video, indeed. Yeah.
It either happens quite quickly or it takes a long time. Maybe it's other people posting as well.
Yeah, I have to say, some videos I make or are done within a couple of minutes. Sometimes it takes an hour for some strange reason.
Will, can I ask you something? That stuff on the sea disappearing, was that just a post or was there a video?
There was like a video on Facebook, like a short video about a girl walking toward a little dog, and she just saw like no ocean.
You want to send it to Ceres? Do you want to send it to Ceres so we can watch it?
Yeah, if I could find it. I'm still scrolling through the list, but I'm not able to
Yeah,
find it. So,
I got a link here. I'll send you a link to the
oh,
Hangout chat.
that may help. Yeah.
Cool, thank you.
Ceres,
Neville,
you
It's
should
on
play that
Reddit.
one.
there you
Yeah,
go,
yeah,
Siri.
that's it one. That's the one. Damn.
Siri's got it now.
Now we need Chris with some music.
Yeah, we need a guitar. Oh, yeah, you play the guitar, John?
Yeah, I play a little bit.
Chris is usually sitting with his guitar and then he'll play a bit of interlude guitar while we're waiting.
Oh, nice.
Okay. Yeah, no water.
Yeah, as you can see, all the water is gone, and the fish are just lying there.
Shells. Winter.
I think I'd be frightened. I'd be thinking, well, it'll all be coming back. But it came back slowly, didn't it?
Really, for miles no water.
Yeah, it's supposed to be back by now, but it came back really, really slow.
It did. Crazy.
Hey, I wonder if NASA will be out there pretending it's moon of Jupiter or something.
And this is all around the hurricane time as well.
I heard like 2 days ago about Nerubu, Nerubu. I don't know what the name of the planet. Yeah, that. But it collided with Jupiter and destroyed Jupiter.
Yeah.
What's anybody heard about that one?
No, go on then.
Oh, it was like on one of the channels that I follow, also through the disclose.tv website. But there were like pictures in the sky of Jupiter, and there was a big. There were two bright dots, and suddenly there was only one dot. So one of the two planets has disappeared. So it was like a big flash saying it collided with Jupiter, but I'm not sure about that.
And when was this?
Like 2 days ago, I think.
Well, you know, it's really odd that you would mention that, but two nights ago, there was a super bright star in the sky, and it was before sunset. So I was like, "Is that Venus?" But the thing kept on moving. It was like moving really fast. Like you could, if you were just stood there staring at it, it wasn't moving. But if you waited like 2 minutes and like looked at it, it had moved like a degree in 2 minutes, or maybe a half a degree, 3/4 of a degree in 2 minutes.
Well, it could be to have Nirubu colliding with Jupiter, because I saw footage going on about that particular subject.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, that was the morning of the full moon.
Got a bit of an echo there.
Yeah, just a bit.
Is it Will? I
Well,
think it's Will.
Also, when you showed that the water was attracted in that video, sometimes after that you get a tsunami. I hope that doesn't happen.
Yeah, I mean, you'll normally get a storm surge.
Ooh, got a bit of feedback from someone.
I don't know.
Not from me, because I had mine muted. The Irma is supposed to hit the south coast of Miami with a 33-foot wave.
Oh, yeah, of course it's 33 feet.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, indeed.
And when this is all supposed to happen then?
Tomorrow.
It is a possibility, of course. When often when the water goes away, after that you get a tsunami wave. Not always, of course, but it's a possibility.
It will get to shore like tomorrow morning, early in the morning.
We did kind of wonder, though, didn't we? It was mentioned on the Hangout last night that this might happen, tsunamis and stuff, because of all these things happening.
Yeah, it's a possibility indeed that that could happen.
Did that happen the same day? Oh no, when was the earthquake in Mexico? Was it the same day? Because you said a couple of days ago. Was it the same day as the earthquake?
Let me pull up the moon chart so I can know for sure. I think it was 2 nights ago, though.
So this was. Carry on,
Okay, so it was the night of the night of the 6th, or no, the night of the 5th, the morning of the 6th. So yeah, it was. Today's the 9th, so 1, 2, yeah, 2, 3 nights ago.
Well, I'm just saying I'm getting a cup of tea. I will be right back.
Okay, artist. John, is there anything you wanted to talk about today?
Whatever's clever, flat Earth.
Okay, I just wondered if you had any things you wanted to talk about.
Not particularly, to be honest. I'm using this wireless headset, and the stupid thing, I've always had a wired headset. It's good and everything, but it's like it gives me a headache, and it's on the side where the microphone is. So it's RF waves. And I'm the person that like I don't use, if I use my cell phone, I put it on speaker because the radio waves will they mess with your charge, with your signal. Like I'll actually get not really so much anymore, but if there's a lot of Wi-Fi, a lot of RF activity or noise or whatever going on, I'll get heart palpitations and stuff. And so I try not to expose myself to extra RF waves because it is pretty it's pretty pervasive everywhere. And so with this thing right on the side of my head in my ear, it just makes me kind of dizzy, and it gives me a freaking headache on the same side as the mic. So I'm assuming that's where the transmitter receiver is. Other than
the
that,
echo was coming from Ceres because she's not wearing a headset.
I'm really sorry, Ceres. I just muted you just to see if it was you, and it was you echoing.
Okay.
Please.
So you're John. You're also very sensitive to vibrations.
yeah, indeed.
Yeah, it's the same here with me. I'm also very sensitive to vibration because I talked about it some time ago. I have to now some time back I had to concentrate and meditate very hard to actually hear all the vibrations of plants and people. And now because I train myself into feeling those vibrations, I can hear them very easily. Some electrical devices sometimes interrupt with my whole being, and it's sometimes very irritating. Just like you mentioned, you get headaches, and you get sometimes you feel very tired all of a sudden because of those electric charges and vibrations. Yeah. But did you ever? I don't know if you have a forest near you, John.
A what? A forest?
Yeah, forest or an open place with as less as possible electric devices and everything. On a little bit
Oh,
isolated
yeah.
place.
There's lots of there's national forests and stuff within
Oh, yeah.
10 minutes from here. Yeah.
I have something that you
But
can
it's
do.
also it's swampland, so it may not be. I mean, there's alligators and stuff out there. It may not be all that great during a lot of rain.
Okay, but yeah, but if it's a dry season, I have a thing that I do when I feel a little bit when I'm a little bit burnt up and I feel a little bit tired. I go to the forest and then I take off my shoes that I'm barefooted, and then I sit with my barefoot on the ground. And then if you meditate and you are a sensitive person like I am, you can, if you meditate for, sometimes it takes 10 minutes, sometimes 20 minutes. It's just how, not a specific time amount. Then you can hear all the vibrations of the plants and trees. And if you start hearing those vibrations of the plants and trees, and you have your feet on the ground, and you meditate for an hour is the best, you can recharge yourself. And also
absolutely, man. It's funny because I was talking about this not too long ago, where there's a study where it's most Americans never touch their bare feet to the ground, like ever. It's like once every several years.
Yep.
And I'll go barefooted myself sometimes just because I agree. And yeah, if you go out hiking and stuff, I totally agree that you could get a lot more centered when you're not, exposed to all the RF waves, and just kick your shoes off.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's definitely something to that.
Ground.
Yeah,
you need the negative ions on the ground.
Yeah, you need that indeed to get that energy flow that is sometimes a little bit erupted by all the electric devices in the city. And if you go to a more isolated place and you ground yourself, basically, you get that natural energy flow starting up again. And most of the time, after even half an hour, when you do that, what I told, that you ground yourself with your bare feet, you already feel the energy coming back in your body.
Yeah, that's so true. And I was thinking the other day, and this is my theory, and someone else can test it or whatever. But you know how like we all have hairs on our arms and hairs everywhere, right? Little hairs.
Mm-hmm.
Well, they say, oh, that's leftover DNA from when we were monkeys, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I don't agree with that at all.
No.
But I'm thinking because when we breathe in, we're breathing in oxygen, but we're also basically transforming the static electric charge in the air. And so I'm thinking of the hairs on your arms and stuff as more of little, maybe not transformers, but something like that.
Something like antennas.
And right, exactly. Exactly. And same thing, like you look at palm fronds here in Florida. Same sort of thing. I mean, and I really think that this is the just free energy that Tesla was tapping into back at the turn of the 1900s.
Oh yeah.
But it's just more and more evidence, when you look at like what Chris Monk Selly was saying a few weeks ago. Kudos to that. That was awesome. It's all about just free energy. I mean, it's everywhere, and they sell us gasoline so that they can keep the petrodollar going. But it's all. So we talked about chemtrails a little bit earlier. I mean, you guys know my theory on that. They're just using water vapor and they're putting on a big show. That's my theory, and because the thing is so many things make sense when you think about it that way. What happened to the technology where they could go 100 miles on less than a gallon of gas and water? You
even had in the early 1900s, you had even hybrid cars that run on electricity and gasoline, and also electric cars. And in the 60s, somebody even had basically changed an old electric car from 1910, and he put an how do you call it? An sun to capture the sun on his roof, and then basically he could drive for free.
Yeah, no doubt.
And then cars.
Yeah, and even in the 1960s, my dad witnessed a guy it was in Haarlem back then. There was an engineer who built a car that would run on water fusion. And some sort of water fusion. He basically could drive his car on rainwater or even seawater. And that guy did a demonstration in Haarlem back then. That's near Amsterdam in the 60s. And my dad witnessed that, and he saw that car driving, and he was in the newspaper. And strangely, after that demonstration, there was nothing ever mentioned of that guy ever in the news. But a couple of years ago, they did an interview with that guy. He was living in Mexico, I believe, and he was almost 90 years old, and he was a little bit ill. So and then he basically told that Shell bought all the patents from him. And they gave him back in the 1960s about $3 million to shut up and give them the patents and go away. So that is actually proven that Shell buys all the inventions, so they can still sell us all those cars with those petrol cars, and. But they are just like I told, there since the 1960s, there are cars that can drive on water, basically. Only the big companies buy all those patents and pay off those inventors.
And
that's true. When I was about 8 or 9, I believe I was at my grandma's house, and there was a neighbor who got a motorcycle. I believe it was a Harley, but he modified it to run on water. So it's possible with cars, but it's also possible with motorcycle, and I believe it's just easy to do.
It's very easy to do, because that guy could do that in the 1960s. So imagine how far they are now advanced in doing running things on water. Basically, everything could run on water nowadays, but they don't want that because they want to earn as much money as they can. That's the basic.
Well, what it is, it's an institutional problem. I mean, it's really dug in deep because you have entire industries, entire fields of science based on fossil fuel theory, basically.
Yep.
You also have the U.S. dollar that needs the sale of petroleum to continue as is, status quo. And so you have these very, very deep vested interests in keeping things going the way that they're going. Much to everyone else's dismay, but that's why they can't just put it down. They can't. I mean, the dollar would crash, and obviously it's something that's going to happen anyway. The dollar's worth a nickel or less what it was 100 years ago.
Oh yeah.
So, but they're going to keep telling people that it's fossil fuels, even though the wells that run dry are replenishing themselves. The United States has tons of oil reserves, but they want to keep, that's the other thing, that what's the #1 export of America other than war? And so you just have all of these industries riding on the petrodollar. And that's,
I also even heard...
Just the only way to break all that and to put an end on that is to fake an alien attack.
Yeah, Ronald Reagan's wet dream.
yeah, probably. Well, also, I even heard, but I don't know if it's true or not, that they basically are making oil in labs. So they are chemically making oil. Not extracted it from the ground anymore, but they are artificially making oil. I saw a video about it. I don't know if it's true, but it's something you can research.
Yeah, I wouldn't doubt it. I mean, I would expect that they could do that easier than going back in time and killing a bunch of dinosaurs.
Yeah.
Yeah. But John, over there in Florida, I've seen some footage about some new technology in the hologram scene that actually can, that the people who see the hologram in front of them can interact with the hologram by sending synaptic signals to the brain, what tells the brain that you touch the creature and to interact with it, except the thing is not touchable. So this technology is just they're testing like how people react to the holograms and play with the animals, and it's just playful now in these stages, but with perfection of these kinds of holograms, they can basically let you run for anything.
Well, indeed.
Yeah, I don't know. I think when computer games start getting inside of your brain, I think that's probably a little too much for me. And I've been a gamer as long as I can remember.
Yeah, indeed. If they start implanting certain things or in your body, that's the part where.
Well, it's just it's an image of a hologram that with panels that send out certain frequencies to your brain, what makes your brain think you interact and touch the thing that's right in front of you, without touching it because it's not solid.
Okay, so they it's for the yeah.
This would be similar.
That thought in your brain that like you're touching that thing. I mean, they can present anything they want with perfection.
So they basically can duplicate a human, and you won't be even sure if it's fake or not, because you can.
They can even make a giant monster, not from this earth. I don't know. Create it and make you run for it because your mind is thinking it's touching me or it pushing me, or I mean, it's the same kind of technology that they built for the army to drive people away from each other.
Yeah.
with modifications to it, they can send out impulses that you are being moved or being touched or being heard or whatever.
Okay. So that they can
Yeah, nothing could ever go wrong with that ever.
Yeah. Yeah. But basically, they can use it indeed for the military, and also, yeah, make it a weapon. And indeed, they can easily fool the people with that kind of technology. That there is actually an alien landing on the Earth, because if you have the technology and everybody thinks it's real, you can present anything
what about,
to the public.
like, have you seen I've seen some videos on it where it's like they project sound into your head for like silly advertisements. Well, if they can do that, then I don't see why they couldn't, because they're just messing around with the magnetic fields in your brain and sending signals probably that way, right? And so
Yeah, they're messing the frequency. They're messing with the frequency on the hertz that giving good impulses to your brain.
Yeah. Well, even the military and the SWAT teams use those sounds. I've seen some videos. They have some big sound disc on top of their cars, and they can.
Right, but this isn't actually sound though. It mimics sound. It hits the eardrum with a signal, like an RF signal or something to that effect.
Yeah.
And it mimics the sound. There is no sound involved. That's what's creepy about it.
Yeah.
So if they can stimulate, your auditory nerves or whatever, I don't understand why they couldn't do similar with your optic nerves, right?
Oh yeah,
It's the same with the colors. There's certain stuff we see as positive to something and as negative to something.
Yeah, I've seen on that was on I think the National Geographic back about 20 years ago. They did a topic about sound and pinpointing sound, and they basically showed that it was even 20 years ago. That somebody was sitting in a car and you would sit beside them, and the one that was driving was playing music, and you would sit beside that person, and you couldn't hear anything. And they even made on a screen a band play, and if you walked into the room from left to right, you could hear different kind of instruments out of a certain angle. And then they even showed that they could pinpoint sound to somebody and basically explode his eardrums. And that was 20 years ago, so imagine how far they are now.
Right, yeah, totally.
So they basically will use sound and vibrations and maybe optical things for warfare in the coming wars they have. You can basically send holograms to war, maybe. I think that's already a possibility.
Yeah, absolutely. And I've never played with virtual reality, but from what I gather, people that start getting into that, they feel uncomfortable coming back out of it. And if they take this to another level where they're literally, where people are signing away a EULA to let the computer interact with their, physiology, essentially, your neuro pathways and everything directly and indirectly. I mean, just think of all the subliminal opportunities they have to get young people with propaganda. I mean, it's very rampant. I mean, if you've played a lot of video games, there's a lot of propaganda in them, honestly. Yep. And when you go and sign a EULA where the computer can interact with your physiology, that's a horse of a different color. So I would be wary of something like that. I probably would not try that even once. Maybe once. You try everything once.
Yeah, you have to try something to actually see how it works, and then I wouldn't try it again, because
right.
Even that back in the day, they had in television something called a brown noise or something, and that basically made people buy all kinds of things. That was subliminal, even in the 80s, I think, because a woman was watching television a lot, and her husband came home, and she had about 40 cans of cat food, and she didn't even own a cat.
That's funny.
Yeah, and that was called something with a B, brum noise or something that was in your TV actually, back in the day. Yeah, it was a device that was in your TV. And when the commercials played, it was turned on in your TV. And if you were a little bit, if you...
It's just basically hypnotic machinery
yeah,
to
if
give
you... Yeah.
and help hypnosis. That's all.
Yeah, it was a kind of hypnosis, and it made by people all kinds of things they didn't need. And if some people were weak at mind a bit and easily could get that race in their head, they buy all kinds of things they didn't need. They like cat food and they didn't own a cat, or they buy petrol for their car or something, and they didn't even own a car. And it was back in the 80s that somebody did research about it, and he was practically sent to jail back then because of
You know, and that's such a like specific thing, but like really, and especially in video games, movies, anything that's on coming out of the mainstream circuit, right? You just get so much propaganda, and I don't think it's necessarily, I mean, like your case in point is a good example, but what they tend to do is reinforce you know, things like the globe, reinforce things like war culture. And when you get people young like that with that sort of propaganda, it's very effective. And so, yeah, I mean, if you can potentially make someone go out and buy a bunch of cat food and they don't have a cat, then, you know, the implications are just staggering. And a lot of people don't take that seriously, but I have for a number of years. And it's like the more you look into it, the more it's really staggering, honestly.
Yeah, it's also with a lot of music clips on TV. I had a nephew. I had to babysit a nephew a couple of weeks ago, and he's watching all kinds of MTV clips, and one MTV clip after another. It was about sex, or it was about drinking, or it was about smoking in those video clips. So basically, they got rid of all the advertising of liquor and booze and smoking in the commercials between programs, and now all that smoking and drinking is in the video clips. So that's the new outlet of all the tobacco companies and all the booze selling companies. They now put it in all the music videos that are on TV. So all the children. That's why the smoking isn't going down with the youth; it's going up, and that's basically because it is shown in all music clips all of the time, again and again. They drink, they smoke, they have sex, they drink, they smoke, they have sex, and so the younger children will be get that in their mind and actually start having sex at a very young age, and that's also a problem. And it wasn't a problem. It is becoming a bigger problem. And also, a lot of youth is drinking more and smoking more as ever before, because they are watching all those music videos with drinking and smoking in them. And it was almost every video clip had smoking or drinking in them, or there were booze bottles on the counter.
Yeah, it's pretty pervasive, man. But specifically, you know, you're talking about this going back to the what are they? Where you're interacting with the actual holograms, right?
Yeah.
I've seen some things with holograms where they use little jets of air to simulate touch, but I didn't know they had taken it to the level where they're actually, you know, doing it that way. So that's pretty wild, man.
Yeah, it's indeed. Yeah,
I would say hell to the no.
Yeah, I've seen some footage about kids playing with dolphins and playing with polar bears, and stuff that isn't normally reality. So it's really a test about how people react to it and how they can develop it more. And I mean, if this is now, I mean, they must have already know how to develop it even more. I mean, what we see as public is like 50 years behind on reality, sometimes even more.
Yeah.
Artist, you were just showing a picture there. We are going to do this tomorrow, but I think John would be really interested in this wall that you keep finding.
Oh yeah, I'm researching on a wall that is going basically from some islands in Greece all the way to Turkey, all the way almost to the Chinese wall. So basically in the Mediterranean Sea, around that area, there's a wall going on for miles and miles and miles and miles. Only most of the time, there are only small parts of that wall still existing. And I also found something else that I can show now, because that is not part of the thing I'm going to do tomorrow. I don't know if you know about that location, and it's called the American Stonehenge. You ever heard of that? Somebody?
Are you not talking about the Georgia Guidestones? Is it something else?
No, it's something else. I can show you. I have the picture already here. It's called American Stonehenge, and it is.
Give me 1 second, and I'll look at the image. Sorry.
No, it doesn't matter.
Ceres, I sent you a video. There's a new update about the storm.
Okay.
No, it's still nice and calm here. It's cool outside. Again, I'm north of Orlando, so that's an easy. Orlando's like the center, and I'm a little bit northeast of there. So it's really nice here, though. Really nice. The ducks aren't on the lake, but let's see. Are they out here? I can't walk too far. I can't stray too far from the door or the headset. Yeah, oh, there's a big old duck flying. Yeah, it's nice. It's really nice. Very calm. But, that could either be the calm before the storm. Like I said, is it? Okay, I went too far. Yeah. Is that better?
Your mic is, deconnecting, reconnecting probably, but we're getting a lot of digital distortion through.
Yeah. Ceres, he's walked back to the computer.
Yeah.
So your NHC forecast deeper storm surge further inland Miami.
Or maybe it's because of the storm that is that he has that sound and everything. You never know. What I was researching, found basically I found it by accident, and that's in America. You have a Stonehenge. I hope that you can see the picture. Can you see that?
Yep. Yeah.
You can see those lines, and if I research it a bit, and if those lines are, this is basically some stones on that locations, and some stones are about 70 tons, and they tell it was an old fortress of the first colonial people, but in that time they couldn't lift 70 tons stones. That is impossible. And you can also, they did some research, and it is basically, it's older. And this is basically the map, the astronomical alignment map of that area. So it is as a lot of astronomical properties in that. All the lines go to a certain type of sun at a certain type of month. So basically, and all those lines you can see in the that I showed, you can see through the trees, are there because the ground is basically stone laned. Dus in the ground they put all kinds of stones to prevent anything from growing there. And this basically the site, and it is was very interesting that it has a lot of astronomical properties. And then basically the alignment tells it's from 1500 BC, or maybe even older. So that's some research I do about ancient structures. Also that wall that Karen mentioned, that is going all over basically from Greece to Turkey, Iran, and then it goes around. Small parts of wall that are often called Cyclops wall, because the most of the stories of that wall are basically they are telling that was built by ancient giants that had one eye.
What, everywhere?
That's crazy. Hey, let me go run up and grab this book I was reading, and I just found it really interesting. It's actually by Albert Mackey. Okay. No, not Albert Mackey. I'm sorry, Manly P. Hall. I don't know why I was thinking Mackey. But let me go grab this real quick, because I was reading this and I'm like, wow, that's really interesting, and it's sort of pertinent to what you were saying. Maybe we can elaborate on it, but hang on, give me a minute, okay?
Okay, that's fine.
Okay.
I can pop up some pictures of that wall I found. I have 2 pictures that you can actually see that wall without, because most of the time it's so much overgrown that it's almost, you can't see it almost. This one is on the Kefalonia island of in Greece, near the Kefalonia island of Greece. This is that wall. This is a very ancient wall. It was probably built 3,000 years ago, or maybe even older. You never know, because it's very hard to carbon date stone. And this looks almost the same. You can see those shapes that look like house posts. And this is in Turkey, so that's much further away. And even this wall, you have some same kind of wall, but I have to get bigger pictures, because on Google Earth you can't see the pictures very clear. So I have to look if I can see some aerial pictures of that wall. Can find them, because sometimes Google certain areas, they are blocked out. You can zoom in them to actually see what the structures on the ground are. Maybe they do that on purpose to hide the wall. You never know. But that is basically what I'm researching about.
That's awesome. Okay, so check this out. This is from, again, it's Manly P. Hall. The book's called Sages and Seers.
Yeah.
And the first section is on Nostradamus, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so this part is, let me see if I can find it, talking about Nostradamus' account of the Black Death, or the bubonic plague. JFC Hecker, MD, April 1885, Humboldt Library number 67, describes the natural commotions of that time. From China to the Atlantic, the foundations of the earth were shaken. Through Asia and Europe, the atmosphere was in commotion and endangering by its baneful influence both vegetable and animal life, end quote there. Okay, so after the earthquakes came the famine. Tens of thousands died. A parching drought prevailed for 5 months at Honan. In vain, the priests chanted sutras. The gods were not appeased. Swarms of locusts appeared and destroyed every vestige of vegetation. At Nanchang Fu, 400,000 perished in floods. Canton was inundated, and torrential rains washed away entire communities. The dynasty founded by Genghis Khan was brought to naught by the anger of the heavens. So this is what I was getting at. So then came the plague. Out of the ruin of the desolation wrought by earthquake and famine appeared the grim shadow of the Black Death. Like the pale horseman of the apocalypse, this fearsome specter rode across the world and left death and devastation in its wake. The Chinese believed that the comets and eclipses, earthquakes and droughts were omens announcing the Great Death. Today we realize that the plague was the result of these natural disasters. Pestilences, having their origin in areas of congestion and squalor, migrate from nation to nation along channels of poverty and malnutrition. But he talks about an alignment. Let me see if I can find that part. Sorry. It's actually a really good book.
Yeah.
Let's see, where is it?
Maybe that's why they build those walls around that sea to prevent everything that prevent that the countries were flooding with the water. So maybe that's why they built the wall, to prevent the water coming.
Maybe, yeah. So it goes on during this. This is like the page 11. During the same period, there was a strange account of a poisonous mist, which was reported in many places. In the east, a meteor fell, which so infected the air that all living things within a radius of 100 miles perished. Noxious fumes and vapors poured out from subterranean caverns, and the rotting dead infected the air. Millions of putrefying locusts were responsible for some of the terrifying odors. At one time, a thick, death-laden fog spread itself over the greater part of Italy. The writer describes how a hurricane had blown great clouds of locusts out to sea. Afterward, the tides cast the dead bodies of the insects onto the shore, and they produced a noxious exhalation. Where is the darn part? There was some like alignment of all these different wandering stars.
Yeah, there was some big flood. Indeed, there were, in a lot of ancient stories, they described the big flood and all kinds of diseases, and also lightning bolts coming from the skies. It's documented in a lot of ancient stories that are basically telling the same story.
It's interesting how what is it called? Fire flare? No, what was it? What was coming over Nevada? Something. Gee. Moment.
Okay. And sorry to interrupt, but okay, so I found the little bit. Okay, so this is just on to page 14 of that same book. The astrologers of the 14th and 15th centuries were convinced that the plague cycles were first announced by celestial configurations. Most of them agreed that the conjunction of Jupiter, Saturn, and Mars in Aquarius on the 24th of March, 1345 was the principal cause of the epidemic. So, I mean, we know now that it was rats, right? This is end quote. But yeah, there was strange celestial alignments and eclipses and all sorts of stuff that they thought was somehow connected to the releasing of the plague. And it kept coming back too. It was like really, really weird. So that's what I wanted to share with you guys. I was just reading this the other day, and it totally was totally pertinent to what we were talking about. So
yeah, indeed, it's very interesting. Thanks for that, Jonathan. Well,
yeah,
also what Chris Morgis was saying about, I found also another of those positive and negative strikes that hit the Earth way back, maybe shortly after the last ice age, or even before that. And if you can see my screen, can you see my screen?
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, here you have in Arizona, you have here a hole in the ground in the north, and here you have a mountain, and that mountain is also rich of all kinds of metals. Often they subtract the metals and have a mining industry on those sites. The mountains over here on the left are normal mountains with peaks on them, and you see those mountains in between those. You can call this a negative strike, and this the positive strike. And the mountains between that, the tops are cut off, like you cut down a tree. Can you see that? So the electric charge went over these mountains and basically cut off the top. Very clear, because the mountains over here are normally formed. So you have all kinds of shapes, and these mountains on top are very flat, almost level, 100%, and that's very strange. And I have another picture of basically an airstrike near Kazakhstan, and all around this strike you have those sphere-shaped balls, stone balls, like Chris Monk also showed in some videos ago, some hangouts ago. Around this, it's almost like something pushed all the mountains flat. Like you have mountains of clay. It's almost like you have mountains of clay and somebody put a shovel over it and smeared it out. That's what it looks like to me. You have also lines going around this mountain range. You have all kinds of globe-shaped balls. And in the next picture, you can clearly see a strike. This is in India. Even from Google Earth, if you go to India, you go near this region, you can clearly see, you can also see the GPS at the bottom, probably. You can see it if, the hangout is going over that, but it's in India, and if you zoom in on India a little bit to the southeast, you can actually see this from very high up. And this also is very clear, a strike. And if you zoom in on these mountains over here, you can actually see that there is a mining company mining those mines of rich of iron. And because a lot of these strikes on the Earth are rich of iron. You can see even there it caused some ripple effect over here. That's not very visible, but if you zoom in more, but my Google Earth isn't presenting in the Hangouts anymore for some strange reason. But here you can see a whole ripple effect. That basically the whole ground was hit with some sort of strike with a sonic blast after it, and all the mountains have ripple effects in them.
I have to go, you guys. I see you guys later. Have a good one. Be safe out there, John, and yeah, people. Talk to you later.
Oh, bye, Will.
All right,
Okay.
Will.
Thanks, Will,
Bye,
for being
Will.
here.
Well, laters.
Laters.
No, basically,
Yeah,
basically what you can see, this is in Peru, and this is also a strike zone, and often near those strike zone you can see a salt lake. Here on the bottom you can also see a salt lake. It's going much further and it's much bigger, and you see all kinds of strikes and mountains. And also here you can see on the left, the right, the ripple effect of the mountains, very clear. Here you can see it more clear, that the mountains are rippling because of that that magnetic strike. You can see over here. You can see here's that hole basically, and if you can't see it in the top here, there's a bigger mountain. So again, you have a negative and positive strike, and between that strike, you can see that the Earth is basically smeared out. The mountains are pushed aside, and all those strikes on the Earth. And that was also what I'm researching. This is basically a volcano. This is near that strike zone in, it's called Hyder Bengal in India. And that strike zone I showed before, this one, this is the strike zone. And that is near Hyder Bengal in India. And here you can see all kinds of, these are basically all rubbled structures. You can see that you can even see on the left there, the outline of some structures still visible. And all the structures here are made of stones without any cement or mortar between them.
What's the scale we're looking at here? Do you know?
This scale, this whole area is maybe it's bigger. It's a bigger area like this, but this is the most visible part of it. And that area is, I think, probably.
We look from 2 kilometers away.
Sorry?
We look from 2 kilometers high.
Yeah, it's from 2 kilometers high, indeed. But the
Gotcha.
area in distance is basically, I think, maybe 10 miles by 10 miles. It's a very small area. And a lot of ancient temples are also situated on the side, but this is even older, and there's almost none research about it.
So
Because-
that structure on the left is more than a mile long.
Vertical height 651
Yeah.
meters.
Maybe I can.
The height what we see is 650 meters, and then the height is almost a kilometer.
Yeah, I can maybe. Yeah, it's inconvenient because my Google Earth doesn't work in this hangout.
The information is in the right bottom of the image.
Yeah, but basically you can roughly say this area you see now in distance is about 5 miles by 5 miles.
By 5?
Rough now, maybe even bigger. It's very hard to estimate. But maybe if
Because 650 meters is less than a half a mile.
Yeah. See, yeah, well, there's this information in the right corner of the image. Vertical height 651 meters.
Yeah.
Hoogtemeter 2 kilometers.
Yeah, that's how high
the
up.
2 kilometers height is probably the photo, but then how wide it would be.
It's a very big area. The area
Siri,
You would expect.
Ceres, there's a really big echo coming from you.
But I want to say something. Without the mic, it doesn't work.
Go on.
But kilometers height, I expect you would see more than 2 kilometers on the ground.
Yeah.
Oh, so you're saying that the altitude is 650 meters?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, gotcha. Well, you could triangulate with that, but okay.
Yeah, but the area is much bigger than you actually see here. But
Right.
this is the area that is most visible, that you can see the constructions. You can clearly see that it was a laid out city with buildings. And they all crumbled down. There aren't a lot of photos about in this. So they probably tried to hide it, because I went on Google Earth and tried to find any pictures, but there are only a few, maybe 3. And I think that's very strange for such a big area, because I think the whole area is about 10 miles by 10 miles, roughly.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And that's what I'm investigating, basically. You can see another. I already showed that one. This is also an unknown temple that nobody knows. And there are only 2 pictures of the temple, so there are a lot of ancient structures are hidden. You can't almost find any pictures of them, or just a few. So and this temple you can here see. This is also on the island of Greece, I believe. And there are no pictures of this. You can clearly see there's a structure, and there's only one picture that you actually see some walls, and that's it. So sometimes it's very hard to research something because there aren't any pictures.
Yeah, really, that's cool. And there's a lot of places like that in South America as well. I guess you'd call it the Mayan stuff. And it's amazing.
Oh yeah, the Maya and the stuff is a lot of, and also the Inca stuff is even more interesting, because the Inca stuff, some of the walls are even older than the Inca civilization. They predate probably predate the Inca civilization about a couple of thousands of years, because the technology they used before the Inca civilization was there is far more advanced than the Inca civilization is. You can clearly see that with bigger and smaller stones. I can pop one up very quick. That will show you that the Inca rebuilt and tried to rebuild structures. You can see over here, this is an old Neolithic stone, and this, and here, so you have, and actually a person goes up to this. You have these 3 stones, and a person goes up as high as this. So these stones are very big, and these stones also weigh about around 50 tons each, because they're very thick. And you can clearly see this is an old, very old ancient structures, and the Incas built on top of that with their technology, but that's not that advanced. That's the people who built with those bigger stones. So there's clearly evidence of a civilization that is predating the Inca civilization, maybe even by a couple of thousands of years, because the Incas basically found these sites and tried to rebuild them or make them into cities, or try to repair them. So that's also very interesting. I think I have another picture of that. Here you can also clearly see those bigger stones. And Inca civilization built with smaller stones on top of them. Maybe I've...
Right, yeah.
It's very...
Absolutely, and you find that sort of thing everywhere too, right?
Yeah, but you can clearly see, yeah, everywhere you can see bigger stones. And they built on top of that with smaller stones. So they try to repair or rebuild old structures in all parts of the land. Maybe you can find another picture. But this is one of those balls in the desert that I showed in that are dropped down on the earth. That you can find all over in the distance. You can see also a ball lying, and they're all over the earth. Often they are rich with iron. This is also some other pictures that are not important, but basically to show you that if you research the structures of the Inca civilization, you can clearly see that they tried to repair and rebuild structures that were already there. And that's the thing they don't tell you on the tour guides, or tell you in your history books. They stated that it's all Inca civilization, but it clearly isn't. They are lying about their ancient history, because if the older structures are the most advanced, the whole build-up of the history of people becoming smarter doesn't fit anymore, because there's a lot of evidence that people in ancient times, before the Incas, before the Mayas, before the Egyptian civilization, there were people that were far more advanced in building structures.
Yeah, definitely. Hey, listen, guys, it's about almost 6 here, and I'm gonna have to get some dinner and get this headset off a minute. But I wanted to thank you guys for having me on your show. It's always a pleasure, and just send out some love to you guys. And I still don't have a webcam. I'd give you a big hug, but hey.
Oh, well, I'd come back to give you a hug. Really? You coming back for a hug? Yay!
Yeah, better pick a wire headphone.
Big hugs.
Hey.
Yeah, I'll have to go get one. It's actually kind of nice having the wireless one. I can walk around with it, but then it starts to crap out. I can go all the way upstairs with it, but if I go out the sliding glass doors, they're like argon gas filled, and so the RF waves don't go through it hardly at all, even with the door open. So
I've also wireless headset, but I can almost walk to my supermarket without any interference.
oh really?
Because we don't have any. Because we don't have a lot of electrical interference over here because I basically live in the woods.
Oh, do you? Well, that's good. That's good for you.
Yeah, indeed, it is. That's why I live here. Because it's
Yeah, no doubt,
Good to
man.
know that you're okay though as well, John, being where you are in America right now with those hurricanes around you. So I'm really glad that you seem okay.
Yeah, it's all good here. I'm going to be doing the Glowbuster show tomorrow at 3 Eastern, and then if we do get anything from this storm where I'm at, it'll be on Monday, and so I'm planning to live stream from here. Maybe I could get my frickin' phone to work as a camera. I don't know, but we'll see. But yeah, anyway, thank you guys so much. Love you guys, and I'm sure we'll do this again real soon.
Okay, yeah, that's cool.
All right, take it easy, guys.
Yeah, take it easy.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Way, and now we're down to 4.
Yeah.
Ceres, is there anything you'd like to talk about today?
Oh yeah, it was mainly these wind charts and how far you can actually, if you put it in 3-dimensional way together, that you could look at it in a 3D model and connect that with electromagnetic information and put that in there and see how it actually connects together. Then you probably would see how the whole dynamics of the whole weather functions. I figured they already know this stuff and have all this stuff floating around to gather all the data there is, what they show us, but never actually how it functions. And in a way they can predict, but yeah, that's because they know how it works.
Yeah, always finding bits here, bits there. You were quite amazed when you saw that chart, weren't you?
Yeah, especially the high altitude winds, how it actually organizes itself. Then you have this tropic band where you see the specific sun effect. It's like a boat floating to the left, but in the meanwhile, the sides of the boat, the water is actually floating faster backwards. So it's, yeah, you see the double spinning here in 2 directions. One is
Believe that they're correct what they're showing, because in reality, when you look at those charts, how could anybody ever believe that we're on a ball? The weather fronts.
better. You know nothing better, so you implement it on the ball. It doesn't matter that the detail itself doesn't actually fit your reality. Nobody looks to that particular part, actually the detail, the empirical detail of the photographs, what actually adds up to the BTM square, the perfect square Google shows, because it's the photograph. Otherwise you would have distorted photographs. If it was the one-on-one GPS.
And that's part of Stevie's work, isn't it?
Yeah.
A lot of people in the chat room have seen Chris lately, but for months and months before, it was Ceres. Anyway, you could show them a bit about the pictures. I've been wanting you to do it, and I know that you said you wanted to make a better presentation, so maybe you will in a few weeks' time.
Yeah,
bit about
a new level in the presentation, but I mean,
just show them a little bit.
Yeah, my scanner is probably no longer working.
If people don't understand that this is Ceres' website where a lot of information is stored, all our compass readings are on there.
As well.
Readings since about October last year, October, November.
Yeah. I generate small icon images and the large icon images. These are the most sharpest I can make in a sense of what.
Hang on, Ceres, I've got to put it on you.
way more detail in the icon. This is just a single icon, and then on that I can also connect from Google Maps, but I'm actually loading so much that I'm blocked from the server. Yeah, and all the red parts, the missing parts, I fill in with or replace with the elevation colors. So we can actually make a three-dimensional model. But what I'm missing is the air, and that's what this stuff is all about. Let's see how it zooms out. And yeah, I saw the higher you got, the heavier the winds became, the more intense areas you get. And then at 12 kilometers higher, you have really extremely large areas what have huge wind speeds, kind of up to 130, 114 miles per hour. And these are it's only 12 kilometers. So, and I can go as far as, what is it, 12,000 kilometers. So actually fill up to actually end up at the edge of half the square, because I think the Earth itself, the middle point, should be in the middle of the square as well. And then see how we actually see everything through all these layers and stuff, how actually the light will behave. If you want to actually have this mathematical model with all the physics in there, so far, yeah, you can plot it here and there in colors and directions and lines and such that you roughly see the stuff, but getting it on the micrometer for the whole world, yeah, I guess we need a few data centers to actually store the data before we can actually look at it. And I guess they have a few data centers to actually do this all.
That sort of purpley colour is much wider on the bottom than the top.
Yeah, it's at the bottom is also more colder, it seems. If we take temperature, for example, 12,000, yeah, it's not much temperature here. We take 500 meters. Sea temperatures, and then 3 kilometers high.
I suppose also the chat room don't understand, maybe because they've not seen so much of your work, but Antarctica's huge. It's much bigger than that, what we're looking at there.
The rest of Antarctica is as big as what we see here in the world itself. It's just another square on the bottom of it. A complete square.
To explain to people, Ceres information and been downloading it and looking at it for months on end. He's found elevation data which is not obvious on Google Maps. It's just masses of information which isn't open, it isn't there for the public just to see it. You've got to find it. Different to what they're showing you on Google Maps. Okay, Ceres is showing you now. But if people understand that water above and land below, and then of course our continents and everything are in the middle, and it's looped.
Also, there's a lot of distortion on Google Maps. Most of the pictures you can see from high up on Google Map are distorted. They aren't actually presenting how it really is. And that's why I like Ceres' work, because he presents how the world is actually looks like, and the elevation, the real elevations of everything.
Yeah,
Thank you, Artie.
way more detailed than they actually show us in the blues.
Yep.
There's so much more in this elevation stuff, and you can actually see how these electrical effects are. Like here on the left, you have the mountain range under the sea, and then here a very deep rim. And that's kind of two different polarities, the minus minus, the minus plus. And then the same here in the south with the mountain, what they call the plus plus, and then here left a valley with these side rims, what are like a negative copy of this mountain range. And maybe there is here in the top also some disturbance, what is kind of.
Also, to explain to people that when Ceres is talking about this elevation, we've just said that it's water above Russia and up there, but there is elevation in the water. The water isn't so deep there a lot of the time as it is between, like below South America, where Australia is, and South Africa. Across there, that is extremely deep water, the whole thing. And the water can be deep above Russia, mountains in there under the sea. And Ceres found the elevation.
If you take about 100 meters from sea level below, then probably all the land masses are actually connecting again. And then above Russia, even this whole region here. And
the thing is, this is what Google Maps have. They have all this like looping. They know exactly what we're living on, don't they, Ceres?
For sure.
And Ceres has spent
It takes ages to get the data, but it's for free. And it is actually in the public domain. You have to do only a lot of work to get it together.
His computer's like on 24/7 for this, and he's been doing it from about October last year, and it's still coming.
Yep. His computer is the hardest working computer on Earth, I think.
Yeah. We're doing two parts. The bit you just saw, the red, that's to do with the photograph side of everything, the pixel side. With all the multicolours, that's to do with the elevation side. And Ceres, you've put those colours in, haven't you?
Yeah, I've just put in random colors to actually get more of the elevation differences visible. And so you can actually see in the more detail. The bigger picture shows a little less, but here at the bottom, for example, there is little difference, but there is enough to actually see what is happening there. Especially this particular southern wave.
And then to explain to the chat room that Ceres has done a few more things to his elevation that he's found. He's put the flower of life and the tree of life on top.
Yeah.
Because that's what you're also looking at.
Yeah, flower of life grid. And then the tree of life on top of it. But what occurred to me is that the tree of life is actually built out of the horizontal grid instead of the vertical grid. And the land is built with the vertical grid, but the sky seems to be built with the horizontal grid, the longitudinal grid. And that's two different grids coming together. And so far I figured we ourselves are actually the touching points between the two. And that's why we have all have our own personal perspective within what we see above, actually the celestial realm, or celestial sphere. And everybody has their own sphere, but yeah, thinking that the Earth is the center of it confuses us, realizing how it actually works, because it actually works on ourselves and not on the world. The world has its structure, its spatial construct, etc. But we perceive it in our own personal bubble. And even the sky is just like a rainbow bubble around you. And yeah, you may figure how far you can actually look over the world. And that's still what I'm trying to figure out, what your maximum distance is, what you could actually see, depending on your height as well. And yeah, it seems all to work with what free energy came with the polygon form, what is what comes out of the light body. And so far I see the polygon form perfectly fits actually the first part of the toroidal field, where it touches the bottom on the earth and then goes further in its field back to in itself again. But we don't see that part. We are only experiencing the center of the toroidal field actually touching the earth, and the field itself touches our fields. And that's how we can actually perceive everything what is within our own perspective bubble.
Mm. And Chris has put your work in his work, hasn't he?
Yeah, so far I figured you'll have to work from reality, because if this is the land reality, and I figured out how the flower of life actually ties into this, and how the toroidal fields are again tied into the flower of life sacred geometry. Um, yeah, we can actually confirm how it actually projects in our personal perspective, if we take in account that we are the center and not actually the earth itself. And I guess there many get confused because they're gonna think portals, etc., from here to there, like we are inside a specific cube. But if you take yourself as the center, you are always the center of the cube. And if you then look to the other, he is also the center of the cube. So where is the edge? So where does it jump from where to where? And in that sense, I mean, there is no jump. It is just a cyclical fourth-dimensional space loop. And it works like the toroidal field. If you take the entire axis of one of the three, and you split the line itself up as a circle, and then around itself, touching it in the middle on the outside base of your toroidal field, and then you take the center, what is the only point what is still touching, and the rest is just the field of the fourth dimension in that sense.
Yeah, for people like in the chat room, we've been doing this for quite a few months. Well, I haven't. Ceres has. It's on our Facebook group. All this information isn't new to us. It might be to some people in the chat room. Ceres, what else do you want to say?
I don't know. Is there a question?
Ceres has just asked the chat room for a question. If anybody thinks, wow, what are they looking at? You have to wait.
Well, all questions are welcome. or things.
I mean, Ceres things though. He's doing the pixel side of things, which is goes up, less and less comes through. But maybe that's because they think that's enough information for those areas. But large areas start disappearing where they're not in higher levels taking photographs of these areas anyway.
Yeah, some locations on Google Earth you can't even see from a lower distance because they are blocked out. Also in Peru, there's one structure that is very interesting with a lot of ancient Neolithic stones. And you can't see that from a lower distance because it's blocked out. If they did that on purpose, I don't know, because it's very strange that only that area is blocked out. All the things around it is very sharp, and you can see it from a low elevation. Only some areas, that particular area that is the most of the interesting in Peru is blocked out. You can only see it from a very high viewpoint, so you can't see any details, and all the surroundings you have a lot of details, only that area not. So maybe they do that on purpose, and that's why Ceres' work is so important, because he can actually show the elevation on those sites, the real elevation, and not the made-up one like Google Earth does.
Well, they tell you the truth and then they cover it up, because that's what they show you. Well, without the extra bit of Antarctica and above Russia, but they show you this. All. But for people who are watching, the Antarctica is extremely high. Then comes us, and then it gets, the sort of sea is lower. So it's like we're a pop-up book.
Yeah.
The way you could show them that bit of your simulation of what it looks like. Ceres is going to find his bit of simulation.
Where are we looking at? Yeah, it's the triple square and then repeated through the space loop, left and right, so that we can actually, get actually a single square again. But the middle part is the only data. And through placing it also on the left and the right, we can actually confirm the space loop of what the flight plane does. Don't ask me how or why. It's just what the data says. It's what reality says. It's on us to figure out what reality then actually is. But so far I see that it all completely ties into the whole sacred geometry. And it goes beyond north and south as well, because there's only an edge in the data and not in physical sense of what the data shows. And yeah, the triple square data is what they actually use to create their GPS one-on-one map we all know. But it all comes from this. And the funny thing is, barely anyone realizes what this is, because they've never seen it. But it's there. It's all in the data. You just need to put it together. Because they're not going to do it for you.
They're not going to show it.
Yeah, let alone show
Ceres. I asked you, is it okay if you show them a bit of your simulation that you've done?
Yeah, I can show the 3D stuff.
Yeah, because then they might get a better idea. Just hang on, chat room.
And now we need Chris with some music.
Actually, artist, why don't you play the xylophone?
Yeah, that or the mouth harp. I've bought a blues harp. So just test.
Yay!
Did it sound okay? Because I don't know if it resonates too much.
No, it was cool. Thank you, artist.
Okay.
Ceres, what's happening?
Not much. It's waiting.
It's waiting. Okay, play another tune.
Yay, artist.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm practicing still, so I hope it's bearable.
I know.
It was brilliant.
Okay. Yeah, that was Sorry?
I couldn't do it.
Well, you have to just basically have a tune in your head and play it. It's almost there.
We just got to wait for it to render, and then you're just going to see how amazing this thing we live on is.
Oh yeah, it's amazing series work, indeed. Gives you a whole nother perspective on the world.
If everybody can remember that the very bright sort of darker colours are Antarctica on the left, and then they've got us in the middle, and on the top part on the right hand side, that is all water, but in there is this ranges, whereas the blue water by South Africa, South America and Australia, that there dark blue is very deep.
Still loading.
I was reading a comment. That was very nice.
Yeah, you weren't laughing at me, were you, artist?
No. Somebody said Jon Mayall playing.
It's just sometimes, because we've seen this before, you have to remember to tell people who haven't seen it before what they're really looking at. Because obviously I've seen Ceres' work for months now.
Let's load up a bit.
Yeah, it's a bit. Everybody's computers seem to be a bit slow nowadays.
This is just a lot of data.
Yeah, a lot of data for everyone.
Okay.
Here we go, guys.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So Antarctica's really high. We're in the middle. And then the water's low. Ooh, Ceres, this is a new bit.
This is the toroidal field built up together with Flout of Life grid.
Whoa.
Yeah, indeed. Wow.
Michelle says amazing. FPV says great work, Ceres.
Yeah, it's amazing work.
Definitely not round.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I've amplified the elevation data here to actually see more on this scale. You can see what is above for sure, and I've drawn the water line in there. Kind of to look through it. And this, and then the flower of life grid within it, and then the toroidal fields. Well,
Time says wow, and flat reflection says great optics.
Yeah.
When Ceres first did it the first time, because obviously, like, well, you're doing it on Blender now, aren't you, Ceres? But it's just a pop-up book. We live in a pop-up book.
I'm trying to do this in Blender as well, and then instead of all these perfect little pixel squares joining the points together as one big mesh, and through that stuff what I'm doing for Blender, I figured out how to do it in the website as well, sort of preparing all these meshes and load it way faster into the memory, and so I can actually do stuff with it. Much easier instead of how I actually started to program this from ground up. In the website, I need to actually completely write the engine for displaying the whole 3D stuff, or the yeah, I need to do everything in code instead of having a program and say to the program, do me a ball here and a ball there, or a square here. All these standard meshes you can just manipulate, and you have a complete tool in Blender what you can do with it. And in Blender itself, you can even program all these on top of that. So yeah, it's a kind of working it on out in Blender and working it out in the website, so I can actually do the same stuff. For me, it's just the first time I'm working in the whole 3D engine stuff, especially with the CUDA video cards.
Okay. Hey, it seems to work a little bit better, Ceres.
Yeah, this is just completely automated as well.
Yes, before it sometimes took a little bit longer to actually sharpen and render, and now it looks like it's going a little bit quicker.
Yeah, and this is just level 8.
Okay.
You can maximum upload level 9, and then level 10. It just at some point it's just too much data, and it just does nothing anymore.
And you can actually see how high up the South Pole is.
Real mountains here. So you can also just completely switch to elevation colors. And all the
what is I don't know if you know it, but it's basically if you don't include the North and South Pole, what is the highest point on the Earth?
That's still Mount Everest.
Okay.
The biggest are Iceland, Greenland, and Antarctica.
Yeah, you could see that very clear. But I was wondering what after that was the highest point, but still Mount Everest. Okay. Well, you never know.
That's amazing, Ceres.
Built out of the squares in that sense. Much easier.
Whoa. A lot of people in the chat room might not realise, but Ceres has dedicated his life to this.
Just like I am dedicated my life almost to finding the real truth about ancient structures.
Yeah, well, I keep saying, don't it, artists? You're all part of this puzzle.
Yeah. It's all related to each other in some kind of way.
Oh, look at the size of Greenland. I hope everybody can see that in the chat room. Oh, wow.
It's visible. It's visible.
Oh, my goodness. It's huge. Time says, I bet Ceres' IQ is off the charts.
Well, I almost know for sure it is.
Yeah, Ceres is extremely clever. And, you know, as I say, we've been doing Sun and Moon as a group on Facebook. Yeah, we've been private because we just don't want any trolls to come in and ruin the goodness that this is all about. But on these hangouts, you know, when you know all this stuff, we've got many people coming in, and Chris is new, you know, and how he's looked into things. But Ceres has had this there, and a lot of you don't. There was Ceres here with all this information. Because he's been quite quiet lately, haven't you, Ceres?
Yeah. Well, yeah, everybody has some kind of input in what reality is, and if you gather as much people as together to create a kind of knowledge network or tree of knowledge between all the islands, you can probably see way more of reality and find out what reality is. So let's join up together and let's see what everybody can find. Everybody sees something.
Sorry, Ceres. Time says it's always the quiet ones.
They look, they listen.
Yeah.
Oh, Ceres is lovely. He's a man without a great big ego. He's just really a nice guy. And he's dedicated, you know.
Oh, yes, he is. He's a very nice guy.
Yeah, and he's got so much patience. And, you know, even when we've started like Sun and Moon, so many people have tried to ruin it, take it, use it, steal it. You know, people you would never even think of who want to do this kind of thing, instead of seeing the goodness, instead of joining us. And this, you know, this is what Sun and Moon's about as well. It's about joining us on this journey, you know, doing live research.
Yeah.
You know, and it's been happening. Chris Monk is a good example of how this has happened.
Yeah. Indeed.
And you, artists.
Yeah. Also Patricia, everybody in the Sun and Moon group, they do a great job in researching all kinds of things, and some of them do a little bit more research, and some for a bit less because they don't have the time to do the research because they have a job or other things they have to do, but they do as much as possible if they can. Because some people may not notice, but for Ceres to actually make these things and my research about ancient structures, it takes sometimes days to find out one particular thing. Days upon days to actually get it right, and you also have to debunk yourself if you are on the right track, and disprove yourself. Try to disprove yourself to actually know for sure that you are in the right. So it takes a lot of time. This kind of research.
Can I just say something as well? I remember January this year when Ceres started to put some of this stuff down as drawings. Not the elevation side, but the tree of life and the flower of life. He used to sit on the hangouts holding the pictures up like Matt does. And within months, look what he's done.
Yeah, he progressed a lot and made it more visible what he's actually talking about.
He used to have drawings and go, it's like this with the donuts. And now, in months, he's created this.
I think his drawings are also a piece of art because they are very beautiful.
Yeah, last night we had Matt Jerome on, and he does a lot of drawings of the Tree of Life and stuff, but so did Ceres.
I saw those drawings of Matt. They were also very beautiful. Also, I think, in my opinion, they are pieces of art also. Because that is also in the drawings you can see the expression of the person.
And also, Ceres couldn't help it. He's been crocheting. He crochets. He's been crocheting the flower of life, haven't you, Ceres?
Yeah, it's the only way I figured of trying to make something what you crochet and then completely 100% flat. The only way to reach that was through actually using equilateral triangles, what created the six-pointed flat. And I figured through joining these 6 corners together, making a 5 on the point instead of a 6, you actually create a tube out of it. And then if you put in 7 on the same point, but then several layers later, you actually get it back into the flat again. So you have a flat to a tube to a flat, and that's practically a hat.
Yeah.
And that's then through the Flower of Life grid. It's all the same stuff, but then all in triangles. Triangles are the lines between the positions where the circles cross, and the square is what exactly fits around the bubble in that sense.
So, in a sense, though, it's amazing that you've gone from drawings to this series.
Yeah. There's a lot of navigation through 3D.
Yeah.
Now it's perfect.
Also, what I showed about that Stonehenge, American Stonehenge, I also put it in the on the Facebook group, so Ceres also can investigate that.
Thanks, artist. Just to explain as well, like the reason that we feel Matt's quite important, the guy that came on last night, is that he's the in-between bit between Chris and Ceres. He's into triangles and he's looking at it slightly differently. But then there's him, the land, and there's Chris with the sky. And then
I'm with the old rocks.
Yeah, you're with Methylifical. But yeah, you're a part of it. I'm just saying on this structure side of things, outer structure. So each one, we all come together, and you know, they all understand each other's work. It's brilliant. And you know, there's FPV. He's another one as well.
Yeah.
Who understands all this, and our work connects with his work. And
yeah, I've seen some work of FPV. It's also very, very interesting. Yeah. He showed me in a private hangout a couple of weeks ago. but he's still working on it, and it's also relates to Ceres and Chris's work.
We're so really pleased that we've come along and that so many people are joining us on this journey. You know, next week, guys, we have Video Club on Monday, and Ceres picked the subject. The subject is going to be about light, isn't it, Ceres?
From Atom to Cosmos, from Isaac Bentov.
I'm changing
Document.
in my head.
I did call it kind of lecture, or his wife is actually presenting his work. But the TV interview he gave is interesting to begin with, indeed. Talking about intelligence. His main question is to the radio maker: for where would you suspect that the most brightest people of the world actually would be? And the first thought was, of course, the higher study, the Albert Einstein, etc., you know. And the actual answer was, well, what do you think about the nut house? Because these people are so intelligent that nobody around them can actually understand them. And thus they can't actually deal with this world, because this world actually doesn't understand them. And in that sense, they are declared crazy because they see things, they know things, they just figure things out were impossible for the average people. And thus they are completely kind of shut out of society, because society's average is just way dumber. It just doesn't get it, you know. And in a sense, the average grows if it's not limited through education. If you actually could learn something and being educated about something, instead of only the slave slave mentality of how to do things and never figured out why things are to begin with. It's where would you see the most intelligent people actually end up? Yeah, in a nut house, because there they are actually cared.
Yeah, most of the people don't understand people like us, because we are free thinkers and have no limit in thinking about things. We have a state of mind that allows us to free think all the time.
To be open artists.
Yeah.
I've, as a programmer, I've actually deprogrammed all society's soldiers in my head, preventing me from thinking about anything else than serving society. You know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's why I don't watch television anymore, because it's a big distraction, and I rather do research about ancient structures and also other things, but basically ancient structures, because I think that's time well spent.
Sometimes got very addicted to the amusement of what TV actually does, because as soon as I put on my TV and I just get drawn to the image, and I get into some kind of non-thinking zombie state, just completely not able to actually think for myself, and that's why I hate TV. Just as a program, constantly, same as people always having their music on, because that's kind of distracting from their own thoughts. Always from their own thoughts, not anything else. Purely their own thoughts, and probably traumatic stuff where they deal with it, but try to distract themselves from just into a fictional thing but never actually into what reality itself is.
That's also why some people almost work all the time, 24/7. Their job is their whole life, but it's just one big distraction because they don't want to think about their life and their surroundings. And some people, if they go on pension, their whole life crumbles because their work was everything, the job. And they spend almost all their time at their job and doing their job. And if they are on pension and they don't have that job anymore, because they don't have any other kind of things to do, their whole life crumbles. Some people almost go mad because they don't have a job anymore, because their job is everything to them. And I think that's very dangerous.
Mind you, we spend all our time doing flat Earth now.
Yeah, but that's something completely different, because when we actually go on a pension, we still will be researchers, because research is what we do. It's not really our job. It's the things we want to do. We like to do. It's like
Some
a
of us are
hobby.
driven to it, though, aren't we, artists? We're just driven to doing it. We need to know.
Yeah, we need to. We need to know what the truth actually is, and that's why Ceres and Chris.
Thank you, Ceres.
Yeah, we wanna learn the truth, and that's because that's why we are driven so much. But some people have also free time, but only sit at their television or have other distractions, because they don't want to know the truth. That's why when I try to talk about the flat Earth to people, I always start a bit with the food industry to actually test if people are open-minded. I tell about the chemicals in their food, and if people are not into that and they are looking like I don't want to know about that, you will probably I then already know that they also don't want to talk about the flat Earth. So I do it in different kind of levels. So I first start to talk about the government a bit and try to see how they react to that. After that, I talk about the food industry. After that, if it's possible, I talk about the flat Earth.
Artists. You got it all worked out to get all along there to get to the end bit with flat Earth.
Yeah. Now you have to see, to see the reaction. First, you talk about the government. Some people say, I don't want to know anything about the government. Then basically you already know they don't want to talk about those other things too. And if they want to talk about the government and that the government is poisoning the planet and all fine.
Yeah, artist, if you taught your whole life to not think at all, and you're challenged to think, it's gonna hurt your head.
Oh yeah.
Because you're not to use that particular thinking muscle. And those who are actually practicing it to actually think, to muse, those will probably get addicted to the muse, because that's the most exciting thing in our life, actually.
Yeah.
It's no longer the distractions. It's the reality of how we are.
Yeah, and it's very important to actually see in what kind of world we live, and learn about what food we eat to get healthy, and all that things. But some people don't want to know it, and that's why I have that plan figured out, how to actually talk to people and see if they are a bit open-minded, and if they are not, you can already stop at the government bit and then wish them a nice day and go ahead. But if they are open, you can quickly see that they are open to it, and then you go slowly tell that story.
Do you know what, as well, artists? I think that when, like maybe a person's turned up in the chat room today and just gone like, Ceres' work. What is that?
Yeah.
Being here researching or watching or listening for months. It's apparent that what you thought you knew, you didn't, and what you thought was it's all a lie. And then seeing Chris's work, Ceres, you're never going to see it. It's much bigger than you think it is.
Oh yeah, it is.
Oh, guess what? My phone's come back. Oh, my phone's come back.
Oh, it works again.
Oh, yes, my phone stopped working. It's back. Yay!
Yeah, it works again.
Anyway, can I just say another thing, by the way? I just wanted to say what so far is happening next week. Well, tomorrow we have artists again.
Yeah,
Talking
I have some
about
astonishing facts about ancient structures that probably blow your mind. Because, yeah, you will see it Sunday. I have found some things that are really spectacular.
Yeah, because in a sense, the bit with the Jon the Morgile was extra. Today was supposed to be a day off, but we've been on talking to Jon the Morgile, and then so we've got artists tomorrow in the pyramid and methodologic structures. Then on Monday we've got video club.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so far as long as everything's all right, we've got Mr. Thrive and Survive, and then on Thursday we've got Santos and Aaron, who was on with Santos the other day. And then on Friday, we've got Patricia Steer. So I think we've got a very varied week.
Yeah.
Of different things happening this week.
Yeah, all kinds of interesting things and people.
And on Thursday, Santos is coming to listen more to Aaron with his ideas.
Oh, cool.
So, but I also wanted everybody to see a bit of Ceres' work as well, because he's remained really loyal and patient while everybody else has been telling their stories or their information. And yet Ceres has had all this. I know maybe you've seen it occasionally, but he sat back a bit, haven't you, Ceres?
Yeah, it's also a little bit like we just came earlier than I actually was finished with my work. I need to do so much more about this. And it will probably take at least next half year to produce something out of that huge amount of data to actually see what is happening. Because yeah, through the visualization, you can actually confirm what is happening in that sense. And yeah, I can do it all in my head, but putting it into computer systems and all that 3D stuff, it's so heavy stuff.
It takes a lot of...
so simple. Yeah, you need, I don't know, I need a mainframe or something to deal with this kind of amount of data, actually.
You need about 2 or 3 computers, don't you, Ceres?
Yeah, that's what I said, a kind of mainframe.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a lot of data, indeed.
To render it into a movie or something. This is then live rendering on the computer, in the web browser. And that's the most challenging part, I guess, because it needs to work on every computer in that sense. Although you need at least your graphic user of a graphic processing unit with a very good video card, at least 2 gigabytes.
Yeah.
Manage the amount of data, and yeah, maybe the higher levels can work on 4 gigabytes, and then you're talking about a few $100 or for a video card alone. So yeah, it's I do it with what I have, and I managed to find always to be on the edge in that sense that my computer is always working. And yeah.
Like I said, your computer is possibly the hardest working computer in the world.
Yeah, it's, this one I've got since last year.
Okay, it's pretty new.
It's not been off since the first day. And the computer before that wasn't off for, what is it, at least 5 years or so.
Okay.
I've learned never to shut down my computer, only to shut down my monitor.
Yeah. Also, you're going to put something together as well, aren't you, Ceres, about those pictures, the way that they morph them and everything.
How you actually can confirm your own location into what reality is and see how everything is actually distorted into any other projection of what the data raw shows you. They only lie about the data and nothing else. The data, they can't lie because that's what the hardware does. Otherwise, the programmers should actually program the lie already in it, but that's not what they want. They want the truth as well. But they're going to tell us the lie about it, just to confirm the ball in our imagination. Yeah, all the space and aliens. It's such a fantastic story, but yeah.
And just to explain as well, Ceres has a lot more data, but I mean, I was talking to Ceres about, like, Ceres would love to show you all of it, but it becomes a bit much maybe for people to take it all in one go. Or haven't you, Ceres?
Yeah, in a sense, be up to the seventh dimension in that sense. And I barely can think about the sixth, and getting the fifth into words is what I can do. Speak about it is about mostly in 4D, the hyperdimensional stuff. But what people understand mostly is just their 3D cube or something. They can't go beyond there. Like if you can't get the fourth dimensional space loop, as in east-west, which is just a circle through the fourth dimension, but a straight line in 3D. If you can't get your head around that, it's going to be hard to even get north and south, how that goes beyond.
I mean, most people haven't realised that we're fourth dimensional beings, but we see in 3D. But that doesn't mean we live in 3D, we just see in 3D. Sorry, I suppose that's living in a way, but inside our bodies, it's all different dimensions.
Experience.
Then the outside is the same. Everything we're in is multi-dimensional. But Ceres hasn't, like, shown you that part of yet, the pixel side, the sort of more the Google Map side. And then there's just masses of information Ceres has got. So Ceres will explain it more, but it just takes so long to put together, doesn't it? You know, as a visual thing.
Everything is actually confirmed through all their what Santos actually brings together in his syncretism. Everything is just connecting to this and actually confirming how you are the center of the universe in that sense. No, nothing else can be the center because you are the actual one experiencing it, the actual witness below, as the Most High is the witness above. You're not the Most High, but you're the same as in His image, but then here below to actually witness within creation what the Most High have done for us, or for Himself in a sense. Yeah, it's.
And I think I can say this, Chris won't mind. Even about 3 months ago, Chris thought many different things, and then, you know, he's been in the Sun and Moon group, and then he came on a hangout, and then suddenly everything changed. Well, not maybe suddenly, but ideas he had, things he thought. Once he saw Ceres' work, now, and now you've seen what Chris has done.
He did mainly the toroidal structure, and he connected actually Ken Wheeler and Santos Bonacci together in a sense. But then in the, how do you call it, the physics sense, and confirmed actually how light is working through all these what is it? The isotropic light, the one directional light, etc. And also the difference between those, that everything is actually magnetism and dielectricity. That the dielectricity is actually the what we call the mass, or the gravity part, but that's only two different forces working together, and the gravity part is what we think is the force, but it is the shadow of the force. And same as magnetism, we think the magnetism is the force, but it is the shadow of two other forces. I just can't remember those four. It's too hard, too difficult word to pronounce to begin with. If you ask me, this is exactly why we have also the four pillars. Because you need these four combinations of polarities in the sense of minus, minus, plus, plus, minus, plus, plus, minus. And it's all an electromagnetic universe. And if you ask me, we are all the center of it. Everything is the center as long as there is a toroidal field. In a sense, also what Matt says, what isn't an atom, and what Santos says, everything is atom. All is atom. Yeah, and eventually
it's a puzzle.
Yeah, it's
because I know that a couple of people in the chat room last night got a little bit funny maybe when Matt was laughing. It's only because Matt has been on a mobile phone and he's got all this information. He's a really clever, he's a lovely man, he's really gentle. Yeah, maybe he comes in a little bit differently, that's all. And maybe he's a bit shy. But, you know, and he clinically died. And, you know, he's got a bit of autism, so he reckons. Yeah. And there's this man, he's just so full of information and he's just slowly channeling it in the correct way, I think, you know, learning how to do it. Because the thing that everybody likes about Chris, I think, is because he presents it really well. But all it is we're just ordinary people.
Yeah. Well, yeah, we present it in our own kind of way, and some people have a very smooth presentation, and some people don't have the ability to bring that smooth of a presentation as Ceres and Chris can. I try to presentate my research as smooth as possible, but it also takes a lot of work at forehand to make a smooth presentation. What I basically do is do the whole presentation without any audience to actually see how it works, and then I number all the pictures in a good order to make the presentation as smooth as possible, but it takes a lot of work. And if you don't have the time for that, yeah, it's very hard to make a very good
what is it, artist? It's just like if you even listen to Santos, you listen to anybody who's really researching, you listen to Dave Murphy, you listen to any of these people, you cannot just say it in 5 words.
No.
And when you start explaining one thing, that leads to another. And sometimes Matt laughs because it's just like, oh my God, I've got to now explain it all again and again.
Yeah.
Obviously, he's got his own YouTube channel.
Well, I rather have that he's laughing all the time than he's crying or something. Laughter is.
You artists.
You
understand.
Yeah, also wanted to say laughter is the best medicine, they say often. So there's nothing wrong with laughter, in my opinion. And the way he expresses himself is maybe a little bit different as the regular person, but I think there's nothing wrong with that because he provides us with a lot of great information.
Yeah, who needs April Fool's Day? My whole life is a joke.
Oh, seriously?
I mean, this is social life then. I mean, as an intelligent person, I'm just too dangerous for any job because anywhere I come, I can just, I don't know, I have a habit of coming across the bugs of the system.
Yeah, you're
they need to be changed. and change in the system of
Yeah.
control. Yeah, that's the most different, most dangerous thing what you can have. So
Well,
yeah,
well,
figuring there,
that's what the
you have to find a boss what actually dares to take me in. You know, and the next option is to have your own company, or what is it? And then yeah, I'm not that commercially orientated in my mind. I just want to do things, and
Yeah.
yeah, it's figuring out who I am, where I am, and what the hell I'm doing here. And if I don't know that, then what the hell do I need to do in that particular functioning of slavery?
Yeah.
I don't like to be there.
No.
And if you put me in a situation where I don't want to be, yeah, then you have a hard time to get me to do anything.
Yeah, I think that's a great point of view. You have basically my point of view is the same. I also even when I had a job some time ago, my boss basically told me that I was undermining his authority. Yeah. So and I had to change, and I said, well, I'm just like as I am, and is there something wrong with the job I do? No, your job, you do your job perfectly. One of the best employees we ever had. You don't almost never make a mistake, but you're undermining my authority. So basically, he told me to get another job. Not because I was doing my job the right way, but I was undermining his authority, and he didn't like that. So that's why I had to leave. I think that's insane. It's just my opinion. I'm just like that. And
I'm sure you are the same, artist. Ceres is definitely a free spirit.
yeah, me too.
Patricia's a free spirit.
Yeah, for sure. We all are. That's why we are doing this kind of research. You have to be a free spirit to do this
A
kind
lot
of
of
research.
people aren't.
Sorry?
A lot of people aren't free spirits.
Now, basically what the problem is, they give themselves their restriction. They don't allow themselves to be free. That's the problem. That's what my view is.
There's also this part of Sun and Moon which isn't out as well as all our compass readings and stuff like that. So there's just masses of data that Ceres has got.
Oh yeah.
But it all takes time to express or explain.
It takes a lot of time. It's a whole journey you do, and every time when you are researching and adding things to your research, you find more things that actually prove that you are on the right track. But sometimes I have so much side information. So just like I showed before, some structures you only have a couple of pictures. But after a couple of months, there could be more pictures of that structure and another structure. And then you have to go to, I think maybe I go to maybe 700 pictures a day for my research. Yeah, I go up in the morning at 10 o'clock and I do my research till late in the evening, 10 o'clock. And then I go to a lot of pictures to actually see if they are the same. If the picture is actually taken on that location, because sometimes they state that the picture is taken in that location, but it isn't. So you have to double check and double check and double check and look at other pictures to actually make sure that that picture is taken in that location. So sometimes, yeah, I think I go basically to about 500, 700 pictures a day.
Talking about work.
Yeah, basically I devoted most part of my day at researching these things, and that's why I also have a job that I do with working in an elderly people home at night, because at the daytime most of the time I do my research, and Yeah, I take off. Of course, I take some days off sometimes, but when I'm researching, it most of the time when I get up till I get to sleep.
I want to know. I want to know. I
Yeah.
want to know more.
Yeah, you want to know more, you get these pictures and you see pictures. Those pictures fit to that project, and that pictures fit to another project I'm working on, because I'm not researching one location. I'm researching maybe 50 locations at once, and there come new locations that I found, and then I have another pictures, and I can see if those pictures are the same in other sites, and if they relate to each other, if the skill of shaping those stones is the same. So it's a lot of research, and some pictures are even hidden. You have to go to certain sites to actually see those pictures, because if you type in the name of your pictures, you won't see them on Google. You have to actually go to some certain sites, like Flickr is one of the sites. There are a lot of photos on Flickr that never will pop up on the internet. You have to actually go to that site and then type in a certain kind of topic, and then you can find some pictures about it.
So I suppose that's why we've got a channel and we have people like you on, artists, and Ceres is here. Ceres said to me about, I don't know, been doing Sun and Moon, and then he said, maybe we should start having hangouts, something else to do into flat Earth. And then we haven't really looked back, have we, Ceres? We've been having hangouts since January.
Yeah, I think your hangouts are great. And basically, I joined the Sun and Moon group because you were in Patricia Steers, her show.
Yay!
That's why I found you. So I also told Patricia in a comment a couple of weeks ago that I was very glad she interviewed you. So I saw that you had hangouts, and that I can actually go to your hangouts and talk with people that are like-minded. And I'm very glad that I found this group. Very glad. Very, very glad.
We're glad you found us, and we found you as well. Well, I said you found us, but you're here, artist.
Yeah.
It's now become sort of a regular member on our panel, or whatever you want to call us.
An invitation to anyone who has actually done any research, what kind of connects to where flat Earth is kind of the funnel to the truth of the truth. And yeah, get in touch with us and try to explain your side of the story and see how that actually, so that we all can see how that actually connects to the rest.
Yeah, because can I just say, Ceres, because that's this bit about, like, a couple of people got a bit miffy about Matt last night, but you know, I've asked the chat room, like, who's coming on the hangout then? Who wants to come on the panel? Oh, I can't, I'm really shy. So if you imagine, like, okay, my camera's off partly because of my bandwidth, that's why it's off, but you know, we sit there and we put ourselves out to the public.
Mm-hmm.
People are sort of laughing at us, or
well, yeah, well, that's also a part of being open-minded. If you are open-minded, you understand Matt. I watched the video and I didn't have any problem with watching that video that Matt was in. I thought it was very interesting. And some people are small-minded and make a problem of everything. But if you are open-minded like we are, and a lot of other people also are in the chat, you don't have a problem with that. And I think it's not Matt's problem. It's the problem of the people who think that that's their problem. If you are open-minded,
yeah, he's one of the, I speak to him sometimes twice a week, and he is the sweetest man ever.
He
Laughs a lot.
Well, he's
going to explain something.
He's probably enjoying life because yeah, if you laugh a lot,
you do, don't you? When you die and you're clinically dead, but you don't die and you come back, life takes on a different stance. That's what it is. I think you said, artist, maybe he's too real for people. He's too honest.
Yeah, maybe that's the problem for some people. But I think he's great. I think Matt is great. I also understand it because my next door neighbor, no, not basically next door, but my next door neighbor also was clinically dead for. Well, they tried to revive him a couple of times. Only the fourth time, his heart step got beating again. And what does he do? Because he also has a short circuit in his brain, and you can say he sings a lot. He almost sings the whole day. When it's quiet, he's singing, and that's his way of processing and thinking. Then he sings, and that's his way of his expression. And I think that with Matt his laughter is the way of processing, and that's just the way he is. And yeah, I don't have
A little bit nervous, really.
well, maybe because he's nervous. My next door neighbor sings when he's yeah, a little bit nervous maybe, and then when he's
I mean, I get this bit that there's this long silence that no one can fill when we're on air, or that I come out with something stupid, or I get nervous sometimes coming on these hangouts.
we all are a bit nervous in some degree. I'm also a bit nervous in some degree. Only because I know you're nice people, the nervous is less.
And we're not being, we haven't got contracts to each other. We're slowly, growing in number as a group on these hangouts. And I mean, when you think Santos trusts us, I mean that's great, isn't it? But
oh yeah,
but because of trust and stuff,
of
I
course.
think the people will understand that we're not into the drama.
No.
It's bad enough as it is.
Oh, the drama bit on the internet, I think it's ridiculous at some point. Because some people are drawn to the drama. Well, that's their problem. I don't want any drama.
I would say that Sun and Moon had started as a group, right, on Facebook. But this whole thing where we are now is due to Ceres' patience.
Yeah.
That's what this is all down to.
Yeah, it is.
Okay.
Got a big plan, didn't you, Ceres, even about the hangouts?
It's just an idea, and I saw that it worked for so far. We actually get connected and get kind of excited of anyone's research to do anything ourselves. See that even the public is going to do things for themselves.
And also,
like Ceres just said, if anybody else has got information they want to share, come and talk to us.
oh yeah, for sure.
Message us.
Yeah.
Us. If people in the chat room actually want to come on a hangout, message us, talk to us.
Yeah.
We're in the people's group.
Yeah, we're open-minded. So if you think you have something that may a lot of people found ridiculous or something, we don't find it ridiculous, or because there's all the research is welcome, and because you can learn from each other.
So far, research is research.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. And also, sometimes I go in a kind of path that I think, well, this is the track I want to follow because that's the good track. And then you find out other things and you hear other things from other people and you think, well, wait a second, I have to take a side track because I'm actually not going in the right direction. I have to take a side track and go in that other direction because that direction is the good direction. So in my opinion, what I do in my research, I found out some things and then I go off the track I was going and go to another track because I have more information about a certain topic and I see, well, I thought it was so and so, But after more research, I found out that it was just a little bit different, or there are more things to that certain kind of topic. And I also changed my opinion just a bit because I know more information. And that's why this is live research. You always get new information that you didn't thought about, that somebody else presents. You think, well, wait a second. It's I never see that in this kind of perspective. And that's,
doesn't it happen like you're on the Hangout and then when you finish you go and do some research on something somebody said?
Yeah, of course.
And then that goes over to the next day and then it's been coming out on our Hangouts.
Yeah, just like I did that bit about Kefalonia on that Greek island. And you told me about those caves where we're going to talk about tomorrow. And I found
I've been there.
Yeah, you've been there, so you can also add something to the conversation because you were actually there. It also helps a lot, of course. And also the artifacts they found in that cave are very interesting, but I will tell that this Sunday. And that's why this group is so great, because you have a lot of people, and sometimes actually people went to their site you are researching about. And if somebody actually went to a certain site, yeah, that's the best thing, of course, because they saw it with their own eyes. They saw it, the whole perspective of that place. And that's why these hangouts are very important.
Yeah, but it's not just that, is it, Archie? It's the fact that we aren't, it can't just be one person that does this.
No.
People, and luckily each person brings their bit with them.
Yeah, indeed. Every person brings their knowledge to the table, and with that knowledge you can build further your perspective on certain kind of topics. Yeah.
Some of it though is a community-based part, isn't it? Some of the people we have on, some of the times we talk, it's more of a community-based thing.
Mm-hmm.
But some of it is people who are really researching, and we commend you as well, artists.
Yeah, Chris Monk also helped me a lot with that positive and negative strikes on the Earth, because he pointed out all those positive and negative strikes. I already saw them, but I didn't know for sure what they were. And Chris basically told me what they were. And then I start researching more positive and negative Earth strikes on the world, and actually relate them to certain ancient sites. And I was surprised that a lot of ancient sites are very near those Earth strikes. So again, that's why I was very happy that Chris pointed that out. Very happy. Because it was a big step in the progression of my work.
So to the point of cross-referencing through several sciences.
Yeah.
Because it's all connected to each other.
Indeed.
You may be specialized in a particular field, but that doesn't mean that you actually understand the whole.
Mm-hmm.
And what we try to do is understand the whole. And we can only do that through all the sciences, not only one particular one.
No, indeed. And that's why that's so great that we have all kinds of people in the group that research all kinds of things. Yeah.
True as it is. It is. It's amazing. These coming together now, aren't we? We're coming together.
Yeah.
Can I just say something? Listen to this. This is the complete opposite of what we're talking about. My daughter asked me if she could stay out late tonight because it's someone's birthday. And she called me, she said, "You lad, kiss, kiss, kiss." So obviously that's the new way. So when you like someone, you go, "You lad."
All right.
Golly, it makes me feel old.
Yeah.
Like, where did that come from? You lad. I'm a mum.
Yeah. I don't know. Maybe it's a new catchphrase.
She's put 3 hearts after it.
Oh, that's
She means
always...
it well.
Yeah, of course.
That's how they talk to each other. You lad. They're girls.
Yeah, I don't know why.
Hey, we've been going now for 3.5 hours. Ceres, is there any more that you want to show today, or do you think that's enough for today?
Yeah, I think next we have a whole week in front of us with a lot of more, and yeah, I needed just more time with these all these hangouts and input of new information. I'm barely getting to actually work on my own stuff.
Yeah.
Most of the stuff is done by the computer, of course, because it's all just a program running. But you need to check it at least once in a while to keep it running and see how far it goes, how far it is, etc. See what next step we can actually do.
Yeah, it's a big
And
work
it all
in progress.
learning process. It's kind of never knowing everything and eventually
Theory.
finding out along the way. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's like never ending. Excuse me, everybody. I've got my dressing gown on. It's getting a bit cold here. Like autumn's coming.
Yeah,
Can I
it's
do a shout out as well? Out to Stan Smith as well, who joins our panel, and his amazing 360 degree and all his time lapses of the clouds, and the fact that he's put masses of information together to show how the stars and the moon and everything goes in his 3D camera? No, 4D. What's his? 360 degree.
Yeah, 360 camera.
Amazing work. Sorry, Ceres, I cut you off.
You can't what?
I cut you off. I was talking over you.
Oh yeah, 360 work.
Yeah, it's amazing. Amazing work. But indeed, we be going for almost 3 hours now.
3.5 hours we've been going. Patricia, do you want to come back and say goodbye?
Goodbye. Oh, joking.
Did you enjoy that event today?
I did, yes. Yes. I always enjoy these hangouts. And I just wanted to say, I know I've said it before and I feel like I'm repeating myself, but I think sometimes you have to say it. I love this group. My confidence is built up. I don't know if anyone's noticed it, but the fact that that we're all bouncing off one another. I think it's brilliant. So
yeah, well said.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you, Patricia. Yeah. A hug.
If I have to.
Yeah. Artist can't because he hasn't got a camera.
No.
I'm going to tell you I ain't got a camera now.
Yeah.
I'm going to block it up.
Yeah, it's busted or something.
So, we're here to do our group hug.
Yay.
Panel hug. Watch hug. Anybody who's watching this and gets to the end of the hangout, it's a hug. It's a world hug.
Yeah.
A love hug.
A love hug. Artists has explained, we're back tomorrow. Pyramid, mythologic talk, structures, walls. So we'll see you tomorrow, UK time, 9 p.m. And thanks to Jon The Morgile for being here as well.
Yeah, love
so
you
bye,
all.
everybody. Thanks for watching.
Bye-bye.
And keep it dry in the storm.
Oh, Ceres. Okay, then bye.
Bye.
It's America, and just hope that it's predicted. Bye.